Good evening, everyone, and thanks a lot for joining us. So we're going to get started quite similar to the way we did last week. We're going to have a look at the week we've just finished. We've got some runners and riders still going, so hopefully we can keep the form on. Just going to fix my wee camera here. And hopefully we'll finish up with some good rewards again. We got a great podium place off the back of the stream we did on Tuesday, which was lovely. And you've probably seen the fleet I did on Twitter. I've seen the rewards and stuff we got already. So we're in a good wee vein of form, and if we can catch some prizes this game week, then again, we're building up that momentum that we lost going into that weird little period where there was a game week or two where there's like 4 fixtures or whatever. I kind of lost our momentum a little bit. But hopefully we'll be getting back up to getting some nice consecutive wins. We're getting on a nice little run of picking up prizes and some Ethereum as well. And then we'll bring the guests in, and we'll go through each of the regions, each of the teams, have a wee discussion, who I'm picking, who they're picking, any sort of neutral information we can send out in terms of fixtures that we may not be able to capitalize on, or a player that you might have or you might want to look to get your hands on. We'll see what happens. But like with our streams, guys, the main thing is we just get our teams out and we're just playing the game. You know, we're having fun. We're trying to work out exactly what's the best combination, who we're going to make captain, what region we might want to try and deploy our kind of safer assets against, what risks we're willing to take, what risks we don't want to take, and then, you know, kind of judge it from there. So yeah, without further ado, we'll just dive straight into how we're getting on for this game week. Okay, so we only got the 5 entries out, as you'll know if you were on the stream on Monday or Tuesday. I forget now, I'm losing track of days and stuff. The under 23 D3, we'd soared into a lovely place very early on. Now, if you were on the stream, you'll think, hold on a minute, how the hell did Crep and Diatta get in there ahead of Justin Kluivert? And what had happened was the Bruges game, I think, was like the 5-6 kickoff or something like that. And right before kickoff itself, or right before the tournament entry, you know, the deadline closed, I seen the team, obviously, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for this. And I'm just going to actually put him in the team. It's a guaranteed start then. I was taking the gamble on Kluivert actually playing. And I thought I've got the opportunity to play a player that is now no longer a gamble. So I'm going to take that and run with it, because Kluivert, I already had in my head, he's probably going to come off the bench. And the bet was more, I can guarantee those minutes from him. Diatta had been out for 2 matches. Wasn't going to take that gamble. But I'd take the gamble on somebody I know would come off the bench and has the potential to score a goal after scoring against Bayern at the weekend. And it kind of backfired on us a little bit. Oh, it really did. Because what it means, right, and the reason I'm kind of laying that out for you again, right, is by substituting out a super rare for a rare that was guaranteed to start in this instance, and we've made Diatta captain, right? So Diatta as an individual for me is captain, scored me 74 points, right? Kluivert got 64, 62, and he's a super rare, so he'd be on that kind of multiplier naturally anyway. But what this has really done is it's taken away that captaincy from my team. So it's kind of just like now I rolled with 2 super rares without a captain, if you want to think of it like that. Whereas beforehand, I think I had Ominami as my captain and Kluivert in the team. And if that had been the case, then we would definitely be looking, I think, at podium at top 3. If we had a bigger score over here with Diatta, and then if we got 20% on top of Ominami, then I think we would have been looking at another amazing game week. But it wasn't to be. We went for the safe bet. We went for the last minute substitution, if you like. And, you know, it still looks like we're going to pay off pretty well. You know, hopefully we'll still bag that tier 1. Still hoping, I was hoping before these 8 o'clock games ran, because we were, I think, 3rd or 4th or something. I was still hoping to keep it in that star rare territory, but there's just too many licensed teams that are playing in this kickoff time. And I think falling down to 7th is definitely something that's not too shabby at all, considering we only had 1 super rare in the team. And he was actually the lowest scorer in the team, funnily enough, at 51 points. So, all things considered, I'm quite happy with that, as long as we finish in a decent price. Tier 1 is where I'm kind of happy with that. The Champion Europe is making a late push. Now, we'd gambled on the Lamar starting because we thought Carrasco had picked up a little knock or whatever, but it looks like he'd recovered, and the rest that they'd given him by playing Lamar allowed him to play against Salzburg. Lamar came on for like a minute, and this is a decent little observation for yourselves to make as well. But he only came on for about a minute or 2 at the end. And that difference, he got me 25 points, you know. So this team now would be much worse off without him being a DNP. So that even just coming off the bench for a minute, can hold some value. And if this can get a tier 3, then absolutely brilliant. I'm happy with that at all. I'm happy with that, considering Lamar was a big wild card in that, because that was a real hunch that I was placing that selection on, and it didn't come off, but it could have been much worse. So if we can get a tier 3, I'll be happy. If Cengiz Under manages to get another goal contribution before he gets subbed off, I don't know, hopefully he'll get the 90 minutes, and we can scrape a tier 2 win out of this, then I'd be very thankful and count that as a big win. Otherwise, this game is on the now. Delat was probably, we were saying in the stream, the guy's over 30, so you'd expect him to be rested at some point. But I just didn't see him getting. It was a funny one. So everyone else has played. Chappie came off the bench. Dorsch has started. So again, we were saying in the stream, it was really odd because Dorsch hasn't played. They tried to not play him last Europa League. They didn't play him at the weekend for some reason, even though he was on the bench for the full 90 minutes. But he starts tonight against Hoffenheim. Makes me think they're trying to shop window him, maybe try and sell him to Hoffenheim or a Bundesliga club that might be watching the game. And he is German, of course. Came through the Bayern Academy. So watch this space. You never know with these types of things. And what else did we have? The All-Star D4 I was mega hyped about. The Manolas is the second time I've gambled on him playing Europa League. I don't know why. I do know why I did it, but I can't believe he never played on this occasion. And the Saka DNP was painful because on the Tuesday night when Ronaldo and McKennie rattled in these scores, I was absolutely high as a kite. I thought, brilliant, with the comment, I'm never going to win D4, but I thought, if I can get into a decent prize category with that common Ronaldo, then that would have been absolutely fantastic. We won the Keylor Navas. We subbed him in last minute for, I think, Pau Lopez, or I cannot remember, to be honest. I can't remember who's in that team. But I say the Manolas and the Saka, 2 DNPs is always going to cripple you. And it must have been one we skated by. Oh yeah, this one was hurt by Wirtz. I thought Wirtz was probably the safest guy to start out of the rotation options that we had identified, and he actually isn't even in the matchday squad. They left him at home, so to speak. So that really suffered from a DNP, because as you can see here, Jonathan David still got the rest of the game with Celtic to go. 1 goal for him if that was to happen. He started. I expect him to get 60 to 70 minutes. If he can get a goal and get himself up to a 60 or 70 score, that then puts this up to about 300, give or take. And then if Wirtz had played, you're then looking at getting those, mid 300s, which is where you need to be amongst the decent prizes. So a very small week in terms of the amount of lineups we actually put out. But we're so close to a lot of different little success stories. And I'm hoping as the stream pans out and we'll see the conclusion of the Europa League tonight, that we come home with a tier 1 and at least a tier 3. That'd be absolutely lovely. So I jumped ahead, guys, like I always do before the streams. And where is my SoRare page? I've not got it here yet. 2 seconds. So what I did is I jumped ahead before, I think it was last night or something, and I picked my teams and stuff. And I've got to say, I'm really, really, really excited about the lineups that I've got to pick from. Why is this? That's weird. Sorry, guys. 2 seconds. Share screen. Chrome tab. Share. There we go. Right, sorted. That's it working. And I'm going to stop with the SoRare data. We'll come back to SoRare data if we need to later on. Magic. And then let me just set this up. I'm going to get rid of that intro video. And then we've got the guys in the Zoom chat. Lovely job. Okay, so the running order for tonight, guys, is Ross unfortunately got the short end of the stick. Last week he came on last and then ended up getting sucked into me rambling and just chatting shit about football. Kept him up past his bedtime. So this week, Roscoe's going to be coming on first to take us through the Asia. David unfortunately can't make it with us tonight anymore, so we'll then have Hybe coming in for Challenger. We'll have You'll Never Walk Alone come on for Champion Europe, and then I'm calling him Law now because I'm not calling you Leeds or Lee every time, but Law will be coming on to go through the Global All-Star, which means the Global Under-23s will do last ourselves to kind of close the stream out as we're kind of ticking through with everything. Okay, so the first what I'll do first of all is I'll introduce Ross and I'll get him brought in to the stream. So let me just unmute this. Hybe, I think no, Hybe's muted, so that's fine. And Roscoe, you are here with us. Make yourself heard. think Ross is watching this on YouTube, so he'll be watching with a little bit of a delay. Stefan, good to see you, my son. And yourself, pal.
Hi. Hello, Quinny.
Ross, how are we doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Next time, let me mute myself because it's
on
really? Zoom. You have to manually unmute yourself. So
got you.
Yeah, not too bad, mate. How are you?
I'm very good, man. Very good. Thanks a lot for taking the time out to join us.
Anytime.
So really look forward to this game week. I think the weekend game weeks, the ones that go Friday to Monday, are always the ones that naturally have the most fixtures, get the most attention, and it's where all the big brownie points are really won for the competitions, I think. This week, you're going to be covering Asia with me, and the reason for that is, of course, is you're mega excited about Asia, Ross. Do you want to tell us what's been going on?
Well, I've had a look on Discord. Put up a little post saying I'd be interested in buying some super rares, which would be the first that I bought on the platform. And friend of the show, I guess, friend in general, Blockchain, You Never Walk Alone, he got in touch and said, I've got plenty up for sale. Would you be interested? And we made a nice little deal. So it's made me viable for a D3 entry and also a pretty competitive D4.
Lovely. So the super rares themselves then that you've picked up, how did you, because one of the things that, most of the users that I'm in contact with, and you might be no different, is getting their head around those first super rare transactions, what ones to buy, the kind of the knife edge that we're on with the different regions and the times of the year, seasons and all that kind of thing. What brought you to getting some Asian ones at this point?
I think just in terms of speaking to You Never Walk Alone, he understands as well the fact that as the season's coming to a close, these players hold less value, but also the close season's quite short. And in the future, there might be some further utility in terms of if they can get the Asian Champions League, for example, as a licensed tournament, then they'll have utility all throughout essentially December and January in the future. So I think just getting now is good in terms of they give me some utility in the 3 weeks that are left in the season, and they give me plenty of utility going forward next season. And the two that I've picked, I didn't go too out of the box, but one's just two defenders, one's 22, one's 23. They've played pretty much every game this season, so in terms of ridiculous scores, I doubt they'll be scoring 100, but they have pretty steady, slightly above average scores. So propped up by some high-powered rares, which have been powering up all throughout the season, should have a really viable D3 team going forward.
Yeah, well, it definitely sounds like it. And when you sent the cards through to me, you just said they're defenders. The rares that me and you'd been picking up quite excitedly when the J League first came out, and then slowly thereafter, is like the midfielders, and also you've bagged yourself a cheeky Alonga as well. So do you see like defender super rares as being a good kind of gateway into the super rare world for people when they're building out?
Definitely, it's good for me as well, especially with the Asian one. The only really viable defenders that I had were they both play for Hiroshima. So in terms of if you wanted two defenders, and you had to double up, or I've got a few sort of younger punts that are from other teams. But in terms of being defensively solid, yeah, I like the two teams. I think one's from Nagoya, who are quite solid defensively. The other one is from the same team as Shanthip, and I can't remember what the actual team is called.
I call them Carousel or something like that. Carousel.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so they're sort of down the bottom end of the table, but looking back historically, they were actually, I think they were third or fourth the season before, so it might have just been a little bit of an off season for them.
Yeah.
And for the price, the fact he's never present, that just made sense to pick him up.
Because I know, and I know when I first started getting some super rares, like my kind of attitude to super rares in general is that they're a little bit more of that kind of the collectible aspect that SoRare kind of holds out, that and we all kind of hold out. For me, is the super rares are kind of the big one for that for most users. If I make that's just my kind of thoughts on it. So when I was going to go buy super rares for the fantasy football side of it, the very first thing I thought is I want somebody that will play like as many games as possible. Because you don't want to be going to that super rare level. This is just in my opinion and my experience. You go to that super rare level, and I've done it myself. I've got like a Stefan Ruffier, who's never kicked a ball for me. I've got a Titan goalkeeper that I was really excited to get at the time, not kicked a ball for me. So some goalkeepers and some strikers, you're not always going to get with them hot form all the time, number one. And because they are generally high impact players in terms of their physical output, high sprint volumes and that kind of thing, you do tend to see them rotating and subbed out of games quite a lot. Whereas defenders, if you can get ones that are starters and in solid teams like you're kind of talking about, then you've got a high chance of getting the 90 minutes most weeks, plus a super rare multiplier. And then if they're in a good defence, like you've said, or they maybe whip in a cross for an assist or something like that, you could be on some high scores quite easily with some rock solid defenders.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and again, we're just saying about they should be essentially a solid base. It's exactly what I've done when I first started building my collection with the rares, apart from let's just discount the first week. Same as any platform, you need to start doing some silly trades to get used to it. But once you pass that, then you can start picking out, all right, well, he's quite cheap and he plays a lot, or he could supplement the players that I've already got quite well. So that's exactly what I've kind of went for here, in terms of they do definitely complement the players that I've already got. I can put a Saka and a Lunga in one team, and I could have the two defenders, and then I've got a really strong goalkeeper who's at 9.5% power. So much like your Tani there that I'm looking at now. So I've got a Jungsun Ryeong, the guy from Kawasaki Frontale.
Yep.
So obviously top of the league. So he's a really solid keeper to have, albeit he's 34. So I need to start getting some utility out of him. And the fact that I've maybe only got a few years of him being at that club, perhaps, it means that I think him being in a D3 is so much more valuable than him being in a D4. Yeah,
because the prizes that he could earn you or will earn you are of
exactly.
a higher stake or whatever. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same opinion with like some of my goalkeepers I've recently picked up or whatever. Like, see what I'm starting to notice, me and you have been around for kind of the same time length, you know, but and also went through the same changes where they've changed the system and the format and whatever.
Yeah. I'm
starting to notice now, seeing you know, I'm sure you've done the same. So you've got a big MLS contingent. Anyone else out there, you might have done this yourself, but my MLS players are still in season. So when I've put them into training and I'm kind of looking at them now through these new eyes of the new system, if that makes sense, and how all the new power actually works and whatever, I'm looking at some of the MLS players I've got that are still in season, that are still training, that are still getting more XP because they're in season. And I'm looking at like my Cisniga's got a multiplier of like 12%.
Yeah.
Or something like that, you know, and I'm just like, wow, see when I get these guys back actually in season, or not even in season, pardon me, but when their season restarts, resumes, and I've got them to use again, I've got a lot of really high powered cards. So the fact that things are going off season doesn't really stop me with transactions, you know, and it's really good to hear you've taken advantage of maybe a wee bit of a lull in the market and got them cheaper than you would have done 2 months ago or in 2 months from now. You know, you've kind of got them in that nice little point where demand is low, you can get them a bit cheaper and you can still get a wee bit of use out of them quickly.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing that you can look at super rares is that I guess you kind of want them to be as young as possible, because obviously I can now use that super rare defender from the bottom of the table team. I could use him in an under 23 if I wanted to. So if I ended up having some viable rares that could go into a cheeky little D3 under 23, he could easily make up that for the whole of next season.
Brilliant.
So it's all about ticking multiple boxes, which is definitely what's happened. So I've got one super rare who is 23, but by next season he'll be 24, so he'll be out of the 23s league.
Yeah.
That means I can just put him constantly in Asia D3 all season, power him up for a full year, and then hopefully by the time that the next season comes around, I'll still have him, and I'll also hopefully be adding to my collection as I go along. And obviously, if I can enter more D3s, hopefully churn out higher tier rewards, and then that allows me to have really competitive D4s just by a sort of trickle down effect.
Yeah, big time. So see with those two defenders and your goalkeeper, I know, you know, me and you are big fanboys for Kawashia Reysol because we like a Saka and a Lunga. I'm not going to lie, Ross, see with my Asian lineups, you've probably seen on the streams before, but they kind of pick themselves. I don't have too much choice, right? But midfield is where I do have a lot of choice, especially this game week. The Kashiwa game, is that a game I want to be targeting, do you think? Or avoiding? Because they are away.
I think in terms of general play, perhaps not, but obviously we both have a Saka who was rested during the week, so it's almost certain that he will play 90 minutes, and when he does, he's a pretty effective player.
Yeah.
So he's someone that I would definitely want in my lineup, and obviously I'm the exact same with Alonga, but he didn't play a single minute, but he was on the bench, so there's definitely no injury, so he's 100% going to play, and when he does play, he tends to score. I mean, he's got a goal scoring record of a goal a game this season, which is ridiculous.
It's mental.
So yeah, they're both shoe-ins for my team. The goalkeeper picks itself as well because he's the highest powered and he's top of the table. And then the two super rares make up what I think is a really viable lineup. I'm pretty positive everyone's going to play.
Yeah, No, that's half the battle. I was kind of talking about the last game week at the beginning of it, and especially with the kind of game week we're just coming out of, the avoidance of DNP is about half the battle for a heavy rotation week like we've just seen the end of the tournaments and whatever. Asia's getting to that, or the J League, I beg your pardon, is getting to that kind of fine point, but it is coming up to the end of the season. The title has been wrapped up. Relegation's not on. They're not relegating anyone this year. So you do hope that guys like Alonga, Osaka, that may be chasing, landmarks on himself, personal bests and the rest of it. So if they've both been rested, you would hope, as you said, they're going to get 90 minutes and do exceptionally well. When it comes to my forward selection for this week, I don't really have that much choice. I've only got two Asian. No, I've got three now, actually. I beg your pardon. But, I don't know if you've been following Kawasaki much, but see on last week's stream, David had reckoned Ryo Hatate might have got the minutes, but he didn't. He came off the bench. So I don't know if I take the gamble on him maybe playing this match, or if I go with my boy Ueda. He's at home.
I think there's definitely a good chance. It depends if I know that I've got my Ueda in my under-23s lineup, and I've got Carlos Jr. in the Asia D4. Who I picked up as a reward. Really good. I think he was a tier 1 reward.
Nice.
1 week. So he's had a lot of utility, and I was actually trying to pick up his super rare, but there was a bit too much disparity between me and the seller. However, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get him in the off season. And again, if I can get him for somewhere around, let's say a quarter coin, somewhere around there, he'd have a lot of utility going forward. And it means that I could then move the under 23 super rare that I've picked up over to under 23s permanently.
Yeah,
I could really start to bulk out my under 23s because I think I've got quite a lot of really viable MLS players that will come back in the season, good under 23s. As you know, they get a lot of game time over there. So I'm starting to piece it all together now. And I mean, I say that I've got like 120 cards, so I really should be. I've now got a good selection.
Wow. Catching up on me, I'm at 140.
You've got a nicer contingent of super rares, of course, though, and you've got a lot of rares that I would really like to have, but unfortunately not quite got the bankroll for.
No, I've been quite fortunate with some of the rewards I've bagged, because it is pure luck of the draw as well. Sometimes, like when I got the works, I was pure bummed out, but in hindsight, also it's worked out pretty well. I think if you went for the Ueda, I'll probably go with the Ueda as well. I know yours is in the 23s, but I think I'll stick with him.
I think he's a really solid choice this week. I think the Antlers have still got something to play for, albeit it might just be a higher league spot. And S Pulse are sort of resigned to the bottom of the table, and he's in some pretty red hot form. So I think he's a really good pick this week, especially at the power level that you've got on that.
Yeah, right enough. So my spare player, I'm probably going to put the Kawabe in.
I've also got Kawabe, so I think he's a really solid pick. He's just a really steady player. And another one who I'd love to pick up a super rare. That would be really good for my collection. I'm sort of light in midfield a little bit. I've got two midfielders in, unbelievably, in the D4. I've got Ian Aga, who I'm just sort of punting on playing because he's 33 and I need to get some utility out of him.
Yep. What do you think about Nakamura? Think I'll get some utility out of him?
I think he'll get no utility out of him, but he's good to have around.
I think he'll play. I only bought it because I just thought, fuck it, why not? I think he'll play the last game of the season, surely. It surely doesn't come back for next season, so if it is going to be on paper his last game, then surely they'd play him. And wouldn't it just be Naka to score a free kick or something, So I'm going to watch out for the last game of the season and play him in a lineup there, because I'd like any reward I won would be worth the 0.01 that I paid for him, certainly.
Absolutely. I'm assuming that you're keeping Tanaka for bigger and better things.
Yeah, I think Tanaka with the I didn't play him the week he got 100 because I just wasn't too. I can't remember why exactly. I did it on stream. I can't remember my exact reasoning, but I thought he was maybe a wee.
I think they won the league, hadn't they? So we were expecting them to rotate.
Oh, it was the 100. Yeah, the 100 was after they'd won the league. They won the league and they scored an 84. Yeah, you're right.
Aye.
That's why exactly. I thought he might have been rested a wee bit, but no, the opposite.
I mean, I must say, I am somewhat envious of your team because my Saka's in the D3, obviously, so it means that it's slightly weaker. Obviously, you've got Umain in a D4, which is a lovely luxury to have. And we've both punted on Tani.
Yep.
Now, I think Tani will be back in. I'm pretty sure he will be.
Yeah.
I can't see any reason for him being out again. So,
see, the thing with the Umain, right, is I remember buying him, and I remember saying to you, like, fuck, I've just bought this guy. And I thought he was really expensive at the time. Like, I really did. But I ended up looking at him the other day. I paid 0.2, which is, I think, quite a fair price for a big power defender like him. But at the time, that was £56. See, now I was like, £56 for see what he's done for me. He's been worth every penny of it, and as I say, he's not going anywhere. I'm not selling him anytime soon. But it's weird because my memory of it was, oh fuck, I spent a lot of money on him, but I didn't really, in the grand scheme of things, because as you say, he makes that team super powerful, that D4, and I got lucky with him in a D3. I think you remember, but I did an Asia D3 lineup the first week of the new system, and it was just I've only got rares, as you can see, and I lucked out. I can't remember. I finished like 8th or something. I got something okay. Got my Marcos Jr. reward, which whatever tier rare he is, striker for F Marinos.
Yeah, we do like him.
I would do like him.
Albeit I paid a lot of money, and it turns out I actually bought the wrong player at the time.
Oh, really?
I've got another guy called I can't remember what his name is, but he's got a very similar name.
Junior Marcos.
I think I bought the wrong one.
Yeah. Junior Marcos Jr.
It's something very similar. So yeah, I bought the wrong one, unfortunately, and it cost me quite a lot.
Fair enough. Well, that's my Asia lineup. Then I've gone for D4 this week. I'm not going to try and chance my arm with that in the D3, because listening to you, Ross, I think there'll be a lot of people in your position that have at least one, if not both, the super rares getting activated in that D3. And I don't think I'll get lucky twice by shooting an all rare team in there. So I'm probably going to try and play safe and go D4 on that.
Yeah, I think that D4 looks great. I think you've definitely got a chance for that.
Yeah. Well, listen, wish me luck, Ross. Thanks again for joining us. And
absolutely, mate. I might dip back in for the U23s, depending on if David ends up joining. But yeah, I'll stick in the Zoom chat and see how it goes.
Lovely. We're always welcome. Magic. Thanks a lot, mate.
Thanks, mate.
And next up is going to be Hybe. So I think I pressed that wee button, asked to unmute. Hybe will come and join us, and we'll get started.
Hey,
there he is. Hybe boy, how are we doing?
Yeah, very well, very well. Glad to be back on after last appearance. Managed to hit a first with that. So, yeah, maybe this is a good luck omen coming on here and doing my teams.
The Midas touch. What division was it you won on again? Was it Challenger?
That was Challenger D3.
Oh, no way. Congratulations.
It was. Yeah, so after recording that, so if anyone wants to see the secrets, go back in and check that out. But yeah,
I seen the rewards you pulled and stuff. You got a really good reward pool this week, didn't you? You had quite a few things land.
So it was £360. I think the total cost of my team for that Division 3 entry, 2 super rares and 3 rares, and I got about £470 back in prizes. So yeah, made the money back on that team nice and easily. So Gazinski super rare, Hans Vanaken rare, and a Muzu from an Anderlecht rare. So yeah, some decent cards.
Kaminsky was the one you were telling me about last time. Sorry, mate, say that again.
So he's not played for me yet, but he's a Krasnodar player, puts in pretty solid scores, so he might come useful in some entries. He might just be a filler for a D4 global 1 week when I've got some gaps there. But yeah, it was definitely a good return. So hopefully this week we do the same. I'm not as hopeful. I think I managed to spot that there was some really good fixtures that week in the Russian league. So all the top of the table teams.
They were all at home, weren't they?
They were all at home and all playing sort of the bottom 3 or 4 in the league. And yeah, I had mostly Spartak players, but it could have went anyway. You know, it could have been Zenit players. It could have been CSK. Just luckily, Spartak won 5-1. So this week I've got a few Spartak guys in again. So Division 4, I've went with Ponce and Larson again and Gijo. Just we've got a fairly favourable fixture, and with the cards that I've got, they seem to be the better options. But my keeper choice this week's a strange one, because I've got 2 Kronbruges, but he's out at the moment, injured.
Yep, it's my boy Wellington.
It messes with my challenger lineups, and especially this week, there's no Portuguese games on, so I don't have Watch in there either, and I want to keep Maximenko from under 23s. So I've got De Fourny from Kaziupin, who started to get some games in the Division 4, and then I've got a decision now between Didalon and Kaminsky. So Didalon's at Cercle Bruges.
Yeah, I know Didalon. He's all right, isn't he?
Yeah, and we've got Kaminsky at Blackburn, but they've got a tough game, so I'm not sure on that. I'd normally just go with Kaminsky, but yeah, I'm going to have a look at those fixtures a little bit more. And yeah, in Division 3, the reason I'm not as confident this week is I'm taking a bit of a risk on Magkiv from CSK. So I've got a super rare of him.
Okay.
It was the only way I'm able to get 2 super rares out in Division 3 is by putting him in along with the Pawns super rare. So it's a bit risky because he might not play, but he's played the last couple and he's putting some decent scores. So yeah, I'm hopefully he does.
And that's...
if he doesn't, I should have just put in a solid rare, and that would have given me a higher score and more chance of a reward. But that's the gamble you take.
Yeah, totally is. I was actually talking about that in the beginning of the stream, just in the last stream I done, just a wee mini one with me on a Monday or a Tuesday, whatever night it was. I went for the Clivert on the gamble, and then I seen the lineups and I swapped Diata for him, and they both kind of scored similarly, but the kind of handicap it imposed on me wasn't just the fact that I'd went down a super rare, but it kind of, you're against people that are going to have 3 cards, including the captain, that'll be times 1x25 or more, basically.
Yeah.
So by me doing that, and equally, again, like I was saying to Ross, I've done really well on a D3 with just all rares, so it can go either way. But as you say, it's a real fine tightrope you're walking of probabilities, isn't it? Do I take the gamble that the higher power card will do something, or do I maybe try and stick with something that's weaker on paper, but it's more solid? Yeah, it's a really fine act, isn't it? What you're also relying on in that case as well is other people's lineups.
Exactly.
I've
got a lot of solid options that I could at rare that I could have put in, and guys that I know are going to hit me a 50 or a 60, but that's probably all they're going to hit me.
Yeah. See.
Is that?
Sorry,
on you go.
No, sorry, I've got a new mouse and I pressed a funny button there and it threw me away.
So the Vanakin gets his second run out. So he played in game week 1, 2, 3 in Europe, done not badly, a 66 or so. Hoping he picks up a slightly higher score in this game. But yeah, so that's at D4. The Fournier, Guijot, Vanakin, Larson and Ponce. And then D3, Didlon or Kaminsky, Magkiev. I'm going to go with Lakonga in midfield, the
nice.
Ponce super rare. And again, a bit of a gamble with Koita. Does Koita maintain that form that he's had recently? So my other striker options there this week are probably a Chalov, a Hazard, a Berahino, Sakala, and Koita probably was all before in that sort of little group of capable of big scores, but not the ones I'm most confident in. Not a Larson or an Mbappe or somebody of a really high average. So yeah, bit of a gamble there. I'm hoping he keeps.
That's the thing I've kind of found with challenger strikers is they can be quite streaky. I remember when we were doing the World Cup, like me and Ross, in fact, we went with Larson the first 2 or 3 rounds or whatever it was. And I think it was the first 2 rounds we went for him, and he famously done quite well. I think he got a goal and 2 assists in one match and did well in the following match. But at that point, his last 5 was super shit hot. And then until the last game week there, you can see his last 4 before that game, they were really bog standard. He wasn't doing much. See, that's one thing I found with challengers. Sometimes the striker, it can be the hardest one to judge, because as much as you look at that guy and he's a goal machine, you look Bongonda and some of the guys that you've got, Ponce as well, Larson, Diata, the list goes on. They are quite streaky strikers. They're not guys that will score 1 in every 2 religiously. They'll score 5 in 3 games or something, and then they won't score for 8 matches. Or kind of exaggerating, but I think you know what I mean. So it can.
Yeah, definitely.
It can make those strikers quite dicey.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's probably one of the reasons I did move on Bongonda recently. So probably still regretting it at this moment in time, because he's still on fire. But form does come and go, and there's going to be players who are just tearing up a particular league and are ready for that next step up, and that might be the case with him. But good to move up. So many players that I'm leaving out in Challenger at the moment that I could do with having more options for them, or moving a few of them on.
So who have you doubled up on this game week for Challenger? Is it defender, a midfielder, or a striker?
So on both Division 4 and 3, I've doubled up on the striker.
Going big.
So it was the again, these are the high risk options I'm going with.
Yeah.
Betting on them putting in the big scores, the Coit or the points. They're the two additionals. I could have went with a Lukume or a Melee or something like that, or Debts. They'll put in quite a solid score.
Yep.
I've managed to use them in some of those in under 23s and some of the other lineups, but yeah, I thought let's go for it, all out, all or nothing.
Do or die.
Yeah, because I think I've not got the greatest goalkeeper choices this week. I think definitely for D3, a bit of a risk with Mag Kiev. Anderlecht they're playing Genk away, I believe, so that should be a bit of a tough game. So, well, it is at home, yeah. So I left a few of them out, but Lukongo just seems to score pretty solidly. So he made it in over Verstappen or Szymanski or Bakiv. There's a few that ended up not quite making it this week. But yeah, that's the thing. It's good to have these options because, as you said, form can be quite streaky. So you've got another option when someone gets injured, is getting rotated, or is out of form. But yeah, it's also frustrating not being able to use them every week.
Yeah, and predict it. That'd be the key bit. I'm just I'm thinking about where to double up on myself. Like, I've got my phone on silent next to me. I can see a jet. He's just come on for Celtic. And I can see that in another section I'll be coming to, Timo Weah scored tonight for Leo, which was annoying to see in a roundabout way. That's good, is it? Aye. Cheers, mate.
good to see.
It's good for his Leo
career.
career.
Actually showing his ability.
Yeah, it's SoRare prospects for sure. But this Jail Batil guy, it might even been Leeds or Wee, but somebody recommended him to me. Again, sorry if I'm not giving the credit, but it's due. I've been tempted to use this little guy. We were talking about him last time, and I think I did use him. He got that 42, or did I not? I can't remember.
And did he get a red card? No,
I don't think he get booked on this occasion. But I don't know whether to play him again, because I'm going with Wellenreuter, the goalkeeper for Anderlecht. Richard Delat was on the bench against Spurs tonight, and he's played like every game so far this season, so I'd expect him to come back at home to Bruges. Big game for them in the league. For Sharon and Ugbo, young guys should score well. But then my spare spot, I've got a few of these safe guys, like I can't say his name, I don't think you can see the screen, but he plays for Charleroi. His name's Ilema Hatarita. And he seems to score like 40 odd pretty much every week. He got sent off and he got rescinded, so he's got 15 in there. But he pretty much always starts. Charleroi have had a good start to the season. And then do I take a risk with somebody like a Badgie as well? Because I always do like him to get rotated in. And I've been right once or twice when I predicted it. But it's a bold move to call it or to put the guy in your team. You know, it's a much bigger statement. You know, the wee hunch, do it. I think he will. But if you commit to it, then you say you ride or die on it.
Some weeks I find I do that. I'll take the punt because I suppose if you get that right, there's going to be less people with that combination of players, so you've got a good chance, of having taken over them. And if that player does very well, so I think people who had Wesleyan Beveren players over the last couple of weeks when they've put in some high scores, I've maybe surprised people, and there will be situations like that. But again, it's that risk, isn't it? The jelly guy there looks to have more solid scores, so he's more than likely going to get a result.
But he's not suspended.
Yeah, exactly. And that's only what 2 and 12 or something. So odds are with you.
So I've got, and again, like Hybie, give me your opinion on this, right? So my boy Gilles Batil, I'm just going to call him, right, and Ika Ugbo are playing against each other. Do you avoid that, or does that not bother you?
It doesn't normally bother me. So, it depends what position they're in.
Do you really pick a striker that's shooting into the goalkeeper now?
I would try not to. And it's more about what I think will happen in the game. So, it's more... Yeah, it's two strikers I have no issue with at all. But when it's any other combination, I think it's slightly different. I don't know why, but I think just with two strikers, you can back them both to get a goal. It doesn't really matter if it's a 1-0. You're not really worried, too much about other actions in the game, whether they concede or not. It's about whether that striker performs. I've had a situation before where I had a Boland up against Mbappe, and they both done pretty well. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Fair play.
I think it just varies, but
I've also got
psychologically you want to avoid it, don't you? Sometimes.
Yeah, because you want to root for a side, don't you?
Yeah, you think you're backing a winner normally, not. Yeah, you think a team's in form or they're going to do well, and that's why you're backing those players. But depending on the options you have, you might have two very strong players at two very strong clubs going head to head. I think we do see more and more of that.
Yeah. I think so. The other option I've got that I'm kind of swayed on is maybe my Mogamed Shapi. It's not. He came off the bench against Chelsea. I thought they might have started him. He had a big score recently. But he's a striker that generally does always kind of feature. But I don't. But again, it's just a tough one. They're playing Lokomotiv Moscow. Krasnodar are at home. That's a big game. Do they play a guy like this? Does he come off the bench again? I think I'm going to stick with the Gio Patil because I just think he's much more likely to start. And I think you're right. It's not a striker and a goalkeeper I'm picking that are facing each other. With him being a midfielder, I can, because all I want that guy to do is tackle and pass well, really. And if he was to score 40 to 50, I'll live with that as long as my other guys elsewhere, especially the Ugbo, if he was to go and get a few goals.
Exactly. Do you think Ajetti's going to start?
Nah, I wouldn't do. I would not take any risks on Ajeti for the time being. I took a lot of risks on him when I first got him, and they all paid off because he started his career at Celtic pretty well with goals and appearances. His ratio was pretty good, but I've not really played him too much.
The Celtic way, isn't it?
Nice.
Bringing all these decent strikers and not play them, don't give them the game time. It's normally from other Scottish clubs, though.
I know, it's a nightmare, isn't it?
So, you've not done it for a while.
I know. I've got to deal with it. In terms of captain, so I look at this team, right, and I don't know what you're thinking for your challengers, but what we're kind of talking about in terms of the kind of little streaks they can go on. I know from previously, just doing traditional bets. And Grant, I don't know if you've ever, pardon me, Hybe, I don't know if you've ever been a big gambler football wise, but the Belgian leagues are always riddled with goals. They're always good for bets for both the scores and overs and these types of things. So I'm always quite keen to captain strikers in leagues that I think are quite goal heavy, because you've always got that chance that they do have a blinder, maybe get 2, 3, 4 goals or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if I had that lineup that you've got there, the goalkeeper and Jelly are the only two that I wouldn't consider captaining.
Yep.
And then I would probably consider that I've got least likely to captain the defender, even though he's got some good solid scores and a 92 there as well. But
yeah, I
like yourself to try and back the goals. So captain someone who might score 2 goals, but for Sharon as well, a couple of high 70s in the last 5. He's always capable, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
And elective got a tough game. So
the thing that worries me about for Sharon and most youngsters is the minutes. He might start, but him getting 90 isn't a dead on. So
yeah.
And if the game, say it's 2 or 3-0 quite comfortable by the 60th, 70th minute, he's not done something, he's an easy sub to make potentially for the manager to get some fresh legs on and change things around a little bit. So yeah, I always try and keep my captain, or what I was thinking, again, sorry if you've heard me say this before, Grant, Hybe, but I always think, first of all, who's going to get 90 minutes? Who's most likely to get 90 out if I've got 2 or 3 choices? Let's say it is the Richie, the Yari, and the Ugbo. I'd probably say Delat is the most likely to get full 90 minutes, followed by Ugbo, and then for Sharon last. And then I'd think, who would I rather was a super rare right now? Again, I'd probably put that list. I'd probably, just jiggle that about. So I'd probably put Delat last. I'd probably want him to be super rare in this lineup the least. Or maybe him with the Batel. And I'd then probably go Yari, because he can maybe get an assist and a goal or something. But super rare strikers could be so powerful, so I'd probably go with the striker. So with him being second in my out of 3 prediction list for minutes, and then top of my prediction list, or want list if you like, to be that mythical super rare, then that's who I'm going to captain, I think, for this one.
Nice. I think it's a solid lineup.
I should do pretty well. Is the challenger the one you're most excited for again this game week?
I'm not too sure, actually. I've went and done all my lineups now for this week, so yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. I find champion quite hard. Where to place Mbappe? That's the most difficult decision I have every week. Is where to place him. So I've got, potentially there's 4 options really. I don't look at a global all-star. It's champion division 4 or 3, or under 23, Division 4 or 3. So it depends on what other options I have around them.
Yeah.
It's, do you play the safe option and have lots of solid players that are going to start, definitely going to get game time and put in decent scores? And I've done that a few times recently and not had the biggest scores. A few disappointing results when you've had De Lorenzo's, Oblaks, Mbappe's, Joaquin Correa's, Bambas all together and not hit much. So, or do you take a bit more of a risk and put them in with a couple of super rares in the Division 3? And yeah, so that's always my biggest struggle every week now, is where to play Mbappe.
So why is it just because the global's too much of a needle in a haystack kind of situation? Is that why you wouldn't?
I think there's more competition there, and there's essentially the prize pool for me. I think I've got more chance in a Division 3 champion or Division 3 under 23 to get a decent prize that I want.
Mikey Boy's just informed me that Richie Delat is suspended for the Bruges game. So Richie,
Nice.
Mike, sorry, I beg your pardon, Mikey Boy, you have absolutely just saved me a DNP there. So I think before we'll move on from that, I'm going to drop the Richie. I don't think I've got that many defensive options outside of him, to be honest with you, because there is no Portuguese league. I don't have Mbemba.
Well, I do. It looks like you've got a bit of ETH there in the balance.
I've got a wee bit. I've been doing well in tournaments recently. Maybe I don't know if you noticed. And I sold something recently. I sold some rewards for like 0.03 and that kind of thing. And I bought some Ether last night, about 130 quid's worth when it got down. Last night I was watching it. See, one thing I've noticed when I'm trying to get Ether is there always seems to be like a late night bit of movement. It's late night to me, and I'm sure you could look at the time zones and it'd be probably quite easy to work out that some time zones just getting to work at that time, you know.
Yeah.
But about midnight-ish, there's always a wee bit of movement, and depending on what that movement is, sometimes I like to maybe buy a wee bit of it the night before, because I think, I don't know about you, mate, but I was expecting a big name to drop today. Like mentioned it at all in the stream yet, but Fenerbahce on board.
Initially, yeah. So initially, I think Fenerbahce's huge. You know, there's 11,000 likes on their Twitter account. But
couldn't believe it when I seen that. You know, that was absolutely exploding.
But we've obviously seen the leak thing about Liverpool, so we know they'll be coming at some stage, or they're certainly signed. So yeah, hopefully we see that soon, and that'll be massive, more for us UK users, but globally as well. It's a huge brand. But yeah, getting a huge club like a Turkish club on as well is also massive.
Yeah,
and it sounds like the site struggled a little bit today with all the new users jumping on, so that's always a good sign.
Definitely. And see, the way after I kind of digested it for a minute or two, and again, I've not been around long enough to say this through experience, but this is just more kind of retrospective perception, if that makes sense. But the Portuguese league, it's Sporting, Benfica and Porto, that's all we have. That wasn't signed as a division like the Jupiter League was, for example. So if they've picked up the Fenerbahce, I think they then maybe go through it maybe over the next 2 months with us. They'll drop Galatasaray, they'll drop Besiktas, they'll probably drop the other one that played Man United this year, Başakşehir, and I can't remember if there's any other club that I would, Trabzonspor maybe. There's a few clubs that are kind of mid-tier, but I think when we see that kind of, it's Fenerbahce, it's on, I think we now know that the Turkish Superliga won't come on in a batch. I might be wrong in that, obviously that might change, but I think
I would expect that as well. I think you will have that. You'll have some league structures that you do the deal with, get them all on at once, and then others where you do it club by club. And obviously we've seen the K League and the J League, and Jupiler have came on that way. There might be other smaller leagues that do come on as a package, and I'm not sure what the decision making is behind that. And it might be that's the way it has to be done. That's how their leagues are sort of sold off from a marketing perspective. I don't know, but I'd imagine we see individual clubs now from Turkey, not the rest of the league just getting dropped. But yeah, hopefully we get the whole SPL coming. I think
hopefully
they would, because if they didn't do it that way, I think you'd get Rangers and Celtic coming first, or one off. It'd have to be Rangers first, surely is the bigger club there.
Shut up.
You know I'm joking, I don't even believe that myself.
Shut up, Ivy, honestly. I think the SPL would go on as I think the SPL is just the way, obviously me and you have obviously grown up here, the way you kind of hear the media talk about like the TV deals that I've done, it definitely always sounds like Rangers and Celtic are driving the car, but everyone's in the car, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
So I think if and when we have any Scottish movement and SoRare, I think it might be as a league. I think just from that kind of, it's just the way the tabloids write it, and I think you know what I'm saying, don't you? It's just the way they always make it sound anyway on Sky and whatever. But so I think they probably all negotiate together, but they two call the shots and take the biggest check. But yeah, so I'm actually in a real pickle now, Challenger Europe, because without the Richie, I've only got 2 commons, and one of them's Vincent Kompany. I'm not going to be using him. And then the only rare I've got is Isa Kabori, who is in and out the team. He got a bad red card about a month ago, and he's not really got back into the side since. And I do not want to bet on him coming in, so I might actually need to go venture out and get myself a challenger defender. That's is there anyone in Belgium? Because I've got Portugal. I'm going to put the Olivier Deschamps in now. Olivier Deschamps, by the way, 38 years old. I remember when this guy must have been about 25, 24. He used to be an amazing buy on Football Manager. He used to have like a buyout clause of like $250,000, and he was like pure heavy slow, but marking, tackling, heading, all the physical stuff was pure mega high, but he couldn't run. And you get him for $250,000. They'd always sign a contract with anyone. You could have even went Hibs. They'd have signed for you.
Must be even slower now at 38.
But yeah, but his scores, like, so I've seen I drafted him as a common. I was like, I remember this guy, and I thought he's not going to be any use to me. But look at his scores.
I like that when you see players from a long time ago, like Anthony Van den Boer.
Oh, mate,
Football Manager. He was one of those greats on Football Manager.
He's on this
time ago, and he is. Yeah, there's a few cards kicking about.
Yeah. Do you know who else? Last thing I'll kind of cover with you, Hybe, and we'll get Mark involved. But the other player I've seen recently, and I'll actually find them on the screen, right? Because this was one of the last kind of wonder kids I remember from Football Manager. When I've not played Football Manager properly, like in probably 8 years or something, 7 years. But this guy, Zakaria Bakali, I heard about when he was at Valencia or something, and he was maybe some sort of Belgian wonder kid with Hazard and whatever. And he's also fell away and stuff. But I seen this card, I was like, Jesus Christ, man, this guy is heavy. I was expecting to be like a wee tricky winger or something, but I don't know if he's always been that big, and I just had this weird perception of him, or if he's put the pounds on or something. But actually, there's some older pictures of him. I think he has beefed out a bit, hasn't he?
Look at Van den Boer. He's bigger.
Oh, Van den Boer, yeah, he's a man mountain, isn't he?
Yes. I
remember as well that Van den Boer and Kompany were 2 of the first players that I found on Football Manager as wonder kids, and then in real life played in the Premier League. You got to see them on the TV. He's actually got man boobs, hasn't he? Wow. Anthony Van den Boer. He's only got 6 cards. Wonder why. Oh, I think he's transferred. He's not with them anymore. I actually heard he's with our club now, isn't he?
Is he?
Yeah, he's with our team in Belgium. They signed him. I read a stupid article about it, and I think Kompany said, Tony, we're pals, we go back, but I can't keep you, mate. You're off the wage bill. Right. See you later, son.
One of those.
But he's at our club in Belgium somewhere, so I don't think he'll be playing. Yeah. Anyway, Hybe, absolute pleasure as always, mate. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm looking mega forward to the podcast that will be coming out. You recorded with Mel today, I know.
We did, yeah. It'll be out tomorrow.
Oh, buzzing. Always love it. Mel's a good chat. Did you have fun with her?
Yeah, it was really good, really good.
Magic on.
Get to hear her story and lots of other things, talking about how we approach selling players and a little bit of touching on this game week as well, but not in as much detail as this. I think this is the format for going through the game week.
Yeah, it's really good fun, isn't it? I don't mind like just sitting and chatting with folk, and you guys have been amazing coming on 2 weeks in a row and making it a bit more engaging and entertaining. So thank you very much for that.
I like this format. It's good. Right. Yeah, thanks for you for putting it together and getting it going.
Oh, the SoRare podcast is actually commenting on this. Hybe, you've got an infiltrator.
That's it. Talking about the SVL.
Slandering you behind your back.
Right.
So thanks again, mate.
Mark, come on.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Cheers.
Marky boy, are you with us?
Testing.
1, 2, 3. Thanks a lot for joining us, buddy. How are you doing?
You're very welcome. Good evening, SoRarians.
Good evening. Hybe was just telling us the podcast went well, and I take it you concur?
Yeah, I did. I said, look, please hang about. I've got some scram in front of me. I've got to eat tonight, and I'll be 10 minutes. And yeah, that was about an hour and 3/4 ago. So yeah, it's good to hear you guys shoot the breeze together. Yeah. So what are we on? What are we talking about? Euro champions, are we? Some
Euro champion. Now, I'm in the very fortunate position myself for the first time ever that I've got an abundance of goalkeeper choice for this division. Now I got myself a Navas, just got the Hando and the Oblak recently, and I'm buzzing. So I'm probably going to do a D3 and a D4.
Right, let's do it.
The champion, the champion Europe this week, Mark. Is there any of the fixtures in particular you're especially excited about, or trying to avoid, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think if you look at the Italian games, I think there's some obvious games there which will lead to people building spines. I know it's a popular word that we used last week of players from the same team. There's an interesting match in France, PSG at home to Lyon. So I think that will be quite divisive.
Yep.
People will either choose to go with a heavy PSG team if they've got those cards, or maybe bank on maybe a PSG slipping up and maybe having at least one team out there with heavy Lyon representation that might come good, and at the same time all those Mbappes and Neymars perhaps wipe them out in the same go. My favourite team at the moment, and I mentioned this on the podcast earlier, so a little bit of a spoiler alert, is that FC Union Berlin are at home to Bayern Munich. So we have Taiwo Awoniyi versus Robert Lewandowski. And
the matchup the world has been waiting for.
Well, you may joke, but if you look at the last three games of old Taiwo, and I'll bring them up in front of me now, Taiwo Awoniyi's got 61, 65, 61. That's after a couple of appearances off the bench. Now,
nice.
Call me old-fashioned, and if you look at Lewandowski, okay, yeah, he's been rested in the Champions League games, but to the average person, DNP 37, DNP. I know it's only one winner in my eyes, I tell you. So those of you that are fortunate enough to have a 2018-19 version of Taiwo Awoniyi, then you might want to slip him in there and try and capitalise on maybe a buy-in upset.
You've got three of them, cheeky bugger. One's a SR as well.
But believe me, I won't be playing in them in divisions 2, 3, and 4. I might just give one a little bit of a run out in an under 23, just as a bit of a
cameo.
See what can I tried one this week; it didn't quite work, but Taiwo will pay himself over and over again with one more good performance.
Well, Union Berlin's a decent club to be at, because you know that they're always going to. Last season they avoided relegation, I think, against the odds a bit, being such a small team and first time in the top flight maybe ever, if not in like 100 years or something mental like that. But I think the way they play is very, try and keep it solid at the back, and then the front 2 or 3 players, I didn't even know it was your boy Taiwo until coming on to SoRare, but let them go forward and play. And if that's your man and he's playing every week, if they only score 30 goals a season, there's a good chance your man's going to score 14 of them or something,
Well, the fact is he's come in for an injury, so I don't know if he's going to be ever present. So you've got to take advantage whilst you can with Taiwo. So he's going to have to score himself into keeping his place in the team, I think, because I imagine when their main striker's back, he might get relegated to the bench again. But It's another great example of how this game goes and works in mysterious ways. We've just had, I know you mentioned with Hyvie there, Fenerbahce on the platform today.
Yep.
So we all get another chance of seeing Samatta. And 2018-19, when the game first started, he was pretty much second choice of Van Aken as the card you want to own for going into tournament weeks.
Okay.
And his scoring record in the last couple of months, fantastic. He then had a very hit and miss season at Villa, as did Wesley, who also transferred to Villa at the same time. He's now got himself a loan move, bit of a stop-start. He's got a brace on his debut, but has been injured the last couple of weeks. He's got a twisted knee. But, there's every chance that Samatta will find a level at Turkey. Maybe he goes 10, 12 goals between now and the end of the season. And, he'll definitely help people win prizes. And if not, maybe that loan move maybe he'll go back to Belgium one day. But as long as he finds a level not in Saudi or in Qatar, then the chances are those sort of cards at some point hit a rich vein of form. We've seen it with Bongonda, for example.
Yeah.
I like Bongonda, don't get me wrong, but I don't think Bongonda is like, wow, super wow. He's just playing at a level where, he looks good versus the competition, the same as Van Aken. If Van Aken did go to Seville or any of the Premier League teams he was touted as going towards, would Van Aken be a card that we give a second glance to? Maybe not.
Yeah. Because sorry, I was just looking at the kind of fixtures there, Mark. Apologies, but
which ones stand out for you?
well, I was looking at Italy because when you're kind of seeing some of the Italian fixtures, I can see what you mean. Lazio at home at Verona definitely is appealing. Juve away to Genoa is appealing, and Inter away to Cagliari is appealing. So I can see that, but I'm quite liking a lot of those clubs. Roma away to Bologna, that's probably
You got some good Leverkusen players. I mean, what about Leverkusen home to Hoffenheim? I know Hoffenheim are on. I think it'll be a good game, that one. I think it'll be goals. Well, Hradecki will lead goals. But I think Leverkusen are always good for goal contribution. So if you've got any of the front four or five, you've got a chance of being, getting some decisive scores from those guys. I know you've got Amiri. Have you got a Bailey or a Diaby? You've got one of those as well?
yeah, I've got a Bailey. I've got obviously the Amiri SR. I've got a Wirtz, and I've got a Paulinho that I paid well over the odds for when he was injured. So I was an idiot. I think I was drunk one night or something.
Yeah, so maybe one of your teams, 3 or 4, or maybe Division 3 team, because it's got the super rare Amiri. Maybe you would build around Amiri, Bailey, and Wirtz, because Wirtz got rested tonight. So
Yeah.
I would imagine he'd probably start on Saturday, and maybe that's the core of your team, and you look to get your points from your goal contributions from those three, and then I don't know if you got a couple at the back that Atletico are away to Real Madrid, so I think I can imagine Real Madrid scoring. It's probably one of those games that Oblak gets like one save and concedes one and only ends up on 37 points or something. So maybe out of your goalkeepers is where you bring out Handanovic for your top team. And who else have you got in defence that can go alongside Handanovic that you think might bag you a clean sheet? And
I'd probably go with the Hakimi. I think if I'm pairing something with the Handanovic from a D3. Yeah. But on the Leverkusen guys, like being at home is a big advantage. But the thing, obviously, I really like Wirtz. Amiri didn't play the 90 minutes tonight, so yeah, I think that makes sense. I think you might be onto something here. The problem I've got with Leverkusen, especially when it comes up front to Bailey, Bailey only played the first 45 tonight, and then he got subbed off after 2 goals, which is lovely. But they are very thin on the ground, and I'm now starting to become a bit worried. So what I did for this game week, I didn't really touch on this too much in the little intro thing where I was looking back, but I had 3 Leverkusen players, and each one of them was a rotation worry. So I put them in a different lineup each, and then it could only be really one of them, in my mind anyway, would have been let down, and that was kind of the way it panned out. But I am on board with maybe concentrating my efforts with them this week. But with the point of my kind of tangent being, I would be really happy to put Bailey in this team, and I wouldn't really hesitate to do that. But I do worry that his form has the potential to dip away just with overplaying and being so heavily reliant on. But again, he's a limelight player. Sometimes these guys thrive in those environments.
I own a Bailey. I'm not going to hesitate in playing him. I think you're right. They are managing their squad because of Ilario's injury, and Schick's just come back into play. But I think they didn't need to do anything today. They won the group, but they didn't need to play anyone big. But they've rotated and given 45 minutes to Diaby and Bailey, and I can't see how they both don't get at least some game time. And if Leverkusen score at the weekend, there's a goal involvement there. But I think the bigger picture here is that when you're building your teams, and I think if you look back at maybe some of the scores from this midweek, or certainly in the last couple of weeks, we are seeing that people playing 2 or 3 cards from the same team. So when they hit big. And I think if you look at the leaderboards now and the points you need to win, or at least position on the podium, you're going to have, is it easier to get 5 players from 5 clubs to go and score you 60 plus points? Or, are you going to need to build those spines of 2 or 3 cards from a team and then hope they win 3 or 4-0? And I think given the cards that you've got, and you've got some lovely options, but I think, given the fact that Amiri's a super rare as well, I wouldn't not put the Leverkusen with Amiri. If you don't want to play one of them, don't play any of them. And what else have you got to substitute for them? But Leverkusen have got a home game. Yes, it's a tough one, but you've got the guys there that typically get involved in the goal contributions.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I feel like sometimes I can let myself.
Or you go Trippier and Oblak at the back, and then you've maxed out and you've got 2 super rares. And, there's no reason why Atletico Madrid can't grind a 0-0 out at Real Madrid. It's Real Madrid that are hit and miss on form at the moment. Atletico, I think, have won 7 in a row in the La Liga.
Yeah, I think my kind of plan was I'm going to be keeping the Oblak and the Trippier, I think, for global, because I've done that the last couple of weeks, and I like them. I don't think a lot of people will back Atleti this weekend, But I don't see. I think even if Real Madrid won 1-0, I think these guys can still score really high. So that doesn't necessarily. If Real Madrid batters them for 90 minutes in terms of possession and shots on target and stuff. If Trippier and Oblak are going to be making saves and clearances and interceptions and high catches and all that kind of thing, then they'll rack up some points. So I don't really hesitate to put them in. But one more thinking when it comes to the Bailey and stuff, and what I'm now kind of needing for my extra spot here, what I'm worried about is, again, I was kind of having this chat with Hybe earlier on around Larson and stuff, but it's just watching sometimes you don't try and hang on to a player's form too long, if that makes sense. I might be kind of shooting myself in the foot a little bit because I think
that's fine. That's fine. But are you saying that you're trying to predict that his form is over? Surely wait for him to have a stinker and then drop him, as opposed to trying to predict when his goal run is going to come to an end.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Would you be happier to have got it right or happier to have got it wrong?
I'd probably be happy to play him and to be wrong, to be honest with you. That's a good way of thinking about it. Let me get your opinion on this. Ferran Torres, does he play against Man United?
I think he gets some game time, but I think Aguero, I mean, you support City, don't you? Or
yeah.
That's your... so Aguero, coming through unscathed in midweek, got the confidence booster of a goal, playing against, your biggest rivals, proper mid-table clash coming up. So I think yeah, you have to lead with your big guns. And I think Torres, if he plays, he'll play on the wing, and if he plays on the wing, point-wise, he's less productive.
Yeah, fair play. That's good. That's a good shout. The other kind of thing I'm looking at is Cuisance. I think he plays. Didn't start against City. It was a dead rubber of a match. So
you got. I've just seen you scroll through. You got Manolas there. Manolas didn't play again tonight, and I think he's a shoo-in for a league game. No, I can't tell you who's going to play in goal for Napoli. I don't think anybody can. But I would put Manolas in one of your Champions teams this week.
Well, I'll come to him. I've seen I do the D4. The D4 is going to pretty much pick itself, and I'll kind of show you what we get to. Because the D4's got a nice little twist to it this week. I think I must have put this. I don't know. I'm thinking Cuisance. Does he play? I think got that kind of Kluivert conundrum I had this week. I didn't actually dropped Kluivert at the last minute. Brought Diat in. I'm not going to go through it again because anyone on the stream will probably be sick of hearing me talking about it. But Aguero's out. He's definitely not starting. Sorry, that's how I won the comments.
I can't see how. I can't unless you need Wirtz for under 23. I can't see how you don't put Wirtz in that lineup.
Do I need Wirtz for 23s? I don't think I need them. I've got Kamada as well. Okay. That could be a good shout. And then I've got my Inter Leverkusen kind of duets there. Yeah, that could work. I think, yeah, okay, let's do that because I'm very confident Wirtz will play a lot of minutes, as you say. He didn't play Europa League this week. Bailey getting 45. I think he's definitely going to start at the weekend. It's just, again, how long does he stay on the pitch and how much gas has he got in the tank? And I think Amiri...
Well, he's proved he can do everything he needs to do in 45 minutes.
No, it has indeed. He's hot on form, so again, I'm probably just overthinking it in that respect. So, captain, do I go Wirtz or do I go Bailey? It's basically the option. I don't think I go Hakimi anyway. I think I would probably... It's a midfield battle. Hoffenheim quite like to play... like kind of funny formations and stuff. I'm probably going to go with Bailey because I think he'll get on the ball quite a lot. I think Hoffenheim last time I checked are still a part of a 3-5-2 kind of system. So yeah, let's do that. Now the D4, I kind of gave a wee bit of the game away a little bit, Mark, right? But see the D4 this week, it's actually what I'm able to construct is a very capable, I would say, a very competitive team of Champion Europe that is comprised entirely of rewards.
Woohoo, cheeky.
Yeah, it is cheeky, isn't it? Let me see. Who was the last one again? See, it kind of picks itself because I know who all my rewards are. Oh no, I definitely had another one. Who is it? Is it somebody? Oh, it's Wirtz. It was Wirtz. Well. It was Wirtz. So I wanted Wirtz in this team because he was a reward. And then I'll go and...
You think McKennie's going to play back to back?
I do, by the way, because I think McKennie is... I think McKennie is Pirlo's. I think he's one of Pirlo's choices. Pirlo played him quite quickly after signing. He then dropped out of the team. He got an injury, had a wee bit of international duty, and then COVID clearances and all that kind of stuff. But I think I've only seen highlights of Juventus since games McKennie's played. I've not watched McKennie play 90 minutes or anything. But do you know what it gives me little flashes of? And forgive me if I'm just being a wee bit too soppy about this, because he's American and I've got a wee affiliation with that. But it reminds me a bit of Marquisio. You know, see the shape that Pirlo's played. You know, when Pirlo played in the successful Juventus team, it was 3-5-2. He's got them back playing that kind of shape, and the midfield was Pirlo, Pogba, and Marquisio, and they dominated. And then the midfield he's been putting out with McKennie, Ramsey, and Bentancur. Yep, and Rabiot. I think Rabiot played maybe during the week against Barca there, or whoever. Artur, that's who it is. Artur, McKennie, and Ramsey. It's got shades of that kind of midfield three, you know. And McKennie strikes me as the Marquisio of the three, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
I think
he looks all right. I'm not sold on him, to be honest. I don't think he's. I think, you know, it's easy to say. Take away his goal contributions. What's he got? I mean, I don't think he's as comfortable on the ball as any of the others around him. And I don't know. I think they rotate. For me, playing this game, I think Juventus rotate those central midfielders too much for me to feel confident about, you know, throwing me in a team. If it's a case of, okay, I'm struggling for players and I've got one more team and I might as well put it in there rather than training, yep, okay, I'll go with McKennie. But I just think they've got to. It's maybe over the next few weeks it will become easier because we don't have those midweek games, or we have less midweek games coming up. So you would hope that teams will lead with their strongest 11 now if they're only playing once every 7 days. I know there's probably some domestic cups and so forth, but we might hopefully better start falling into some patterns now on the weekend games by seeing managers pick their strongest 11 bar any injuries. So it might start to get easier until we get back into the next quarter, last 16 of the Champions League and the Europa League.
Yeah, so I've dropped it. I make it quite right. Sorry, I was just kind of thinking and listening at once. My missus hates it when I do that, but I think we're because the season this year, and I think a lot of people kind of miss this as well, is this season is like no other in terms of the how condensed the fixture list is. So everything in terms of rotation wise and everything is really heightened because of that. So I think when we get the midweek games kind of phase out a little bit, and some of the teams that have been playing in Europe can get into a nice little kind of Saturday to Saturday cycle, I think we'll start to see really who is first choice in some of these squads and who is, when the chips are down, who will the manager actually pick, to give us a wee bit of foresight for like the knockout stages and the sharp end of the league.
Exactly. I mean, you've got Zielinski there. He scored tonight, but again, is he someone that is going to be, you know, a starter on Saturday? Who knows? Oh, sorry, Sunday. Who knows? Great card. You know, obviously we'll chip in with some decent points, but it's not that. You've got to guess which games he's actually going to be playing in, which is the challenging part.
Yeah. I don't think Roca plays. I'm still kind of tempted on the Cuisance. I cannot remember for the life of me how I picked this team. I did the dry run, but I know I had that D4 as all rewards, and I'm definitely running with that this game week because if that could pull me something, I would just be buzzing on Twitter forever.
Yeah, no, that's yes, it's a lovely way to play it, and I hope it does. But just don't do it. Don't sacrifice your other teams just to put that one together.
Yeah, I suppose that's a good point.
Because guess what? I would imagine in the next 2-3 game weeks, you'll win 2, 3, 4 more prizes, or however many it is, and you could run that again in 10 days. So whilst it's you know, I can see where you're going and what you want to try and achieve, but do you want to achieve that at the risk this week of potentially winning even more?
Yeah, and I think I'm being too sentimental. I think you may be right. So let's put the works back in. We'll go with that little duet again.
I'm trying to make you more competitive so that we have closer competition between us. Nice. You know, you could, for example, we could end up meeting each other in the SoRare Data Cup. Oh. And your sentimentality could blow you right out the window.
Definitely right. Do you know, I've still not submitted my team for that. I keep forgetting to get around to it. I better do that tonight when the stream finishes.
Yeah, I was reminded on the podcast today, so yeah, I've got to get into doing that also. Otherwise, it's a bye for whoever I get to draw.
So I think if I'm going to be taking the sentimentality out of it, I think I still go Manolas over Danilo because I think he's a definite to start, and his form in the league for Napoli is always pretty solid. And Danilo is pretty solid as well, I suppose. But
where are you putting Depay this week?
Well, that is a big problem I've got because I think
you've got Depay facing Navas there if you went down that route.
Yeah, so I think when I put this team together, this is the way I kind of went. I'm still happy to keep the McKennie in. I don't think there's a midfielder I would substitute him out for at this stage. But in terms of that extra place, I don't think I gamble on Ferran Torres playing. I think I don't gamble on. I think I'd maybe even go the Kamada in this lineup to firm that out, because again, it's a tight fixture. Wolfsburg, Frankfurt are the away team, but they basically play him up front. He's an attacking mid, but they've been playing him up front this year, so it doesn't really bother me if it's an away game and it's hard, because if he still scores a goal, he'll still come away with the points I need. So I think
Is it not time for that? Is it not Fabio Silva time yet?
I think I'm actually going to put the Carlos SoRare in here. I think because
okay.
I'm a bit more confident he'll get 90. Because again, Kamada could be good for a sub, and Kamada's quite good with him and Mando 23s and whatnot. But SoRare, like, have you got any Danny Pereiro, by the way?
No, I don't know. I think he was one of those cards that I felt I was a bit too late to the party with him. A lot of my rivals had him, and so I just got to the stage where I accepted that I didn't have him, and I'd try and set my teams up to beat lineups with him without him.
Fair enough. Because the only time I can mention it, right, but on Football Index, like, he had a bit of a Danny Pereiro went through a lovely kind of period where he was winning a lot of, he's doing really well and earning a lot of money basically. Since went to Villarreal, which is good for SoRare card owners, because obviously he's limited at the moment. But Carlos SoRare, when I was looking at him last year, was a winger. And this season, now that Pereira's left, it looks like he's playing centre mid, and he seems to be on all the free kicks, set pieces, that kind of thing, which is part of the reason I think his scores went up. Obviously, there was that game week where he scored a bunch of penalties. I think it was maybe 2 of them or something. But a player who's going to, and I mean, he's quite similar, somebody who's going to play the thick end of 90 minutes and take a bunch of set pieces is in a home team is probably quite a decent little choice. The McKennie, I know you're not a fan of, but I swap the McKennie for anyone. I'm probably actually quite happy, because I'm confident he'll play, and I think these kind of high 50s, early 60s, and I know he's get.
Did David play again? As I say, he's just played 90 minutes today. Doesn't look as though he's done anything special. I think they'll have probably got a few options that they can run with. Does David spoil that team maybe?
Well, I make you right. They are good for rotation. They started 2 strikers up front today. They started Ware and David. So probably does he yield?
If I was you, I'd whack McKennie and David in some under 23 team, which is more speculative, because I think Champions Europe is one of the better is arguably the best D4 to compete in. All Star's nice, and you get the comfort of the 0.02 if you beat the point threshold. But you are competing with probably 3 times more people in All Star Division 4 as you are in European Champions 4. And for me personally, if you do hit that tier 2, tier 1, and even higher than that, you're going to get a Euro Champions card. You hit tier 1, tier 2 in All Star 4, you could still get an Asian card, you could still get an MLS card, you could still get a Challengers card. So for me personally, putting sentimentality to one side, I'd be going with my strongest Division 4 team in Champions Europe, because whatever tier of prize you win, you know it's going to be from one of the top 5 leagues.
True. That's a good point. The problem I've got with
dropping
dropping David,
speculative one, you could still hit the 0.02 in All Star 4 with McKennie and David if one of them DMPs. But if one of those DMPs in Champions Europe Division 4, you're going to get blown away. You're not going to get anywhere near the prizes.
What I need to check right before I take you on with that is I need to check my potential D3 striker for global, because I've still got Larson and stuff. Still got Larson for that, and then 23s. Okay, that could work. Right, okay, so let's do that. I take
and if McKennie and David get a blinder, and I'm completely wrong, then you're going to smash it in All Star Division 4.
I'm definitely going to keep McKennie, because I don't think I've got a midfielder I would swap him out for, but I would swap the Depay for the David on that advice you've just given me. In terms of midfield, McKennie for... Who would I drop the McKennie for? Now, there's no one here I would want to drop him for, because I'm confident he'll play and score me well enough compared to some of these other guys, because I don't want to double up with Bruno Gomes. I don't want to, so I'm not got that many strikers, so I'm kind of limited maybe to 1 striker an entry, roughly. Like some entries I can maybe double up, but not that many. So I think I keep that the way it is. Actually, it's not the way it picked itself in terms of going over rewards, but actually I think that is an improvement in terms of having the Depay in there with the SoRare.
But just remember, Depay's playing up against Navas.
Oh yeah, that's why I didn't do it. Yeah, no, I'm keeping the Joe David in here. What about
taking Navas out?
Well, if I take the Navas out, then The All Black has to go D3 for me. The
yeah,
Lafont is my only under 21 or under 23 that will play.
Or bring Handanovic back into Division 4. Oh, you got so many choices.
Or then, yeah.
So how about Handanovic, Hakimi, SoRare, Depay, and then there's 4. Then you can pick your 5th one, and then you can move. You can easily move Manolas up to D3. I don't think that's going to make a difference.
Yeah.
Well, put Manolas as your 5th and go two defensive guys.
Nah, I don't want to.
I'm going to bore you to tears on this. I constantly question myself and my choices on an hourly basis, and then come 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, Tom drops me a little message to say, by the way, this guy's injured, this guy's not playing, here's a predicted lineup, and all of a sudden it's like domino effect. To take out one piece of a team, and all of a sudden that triggers mass changes across all of the others. So
It's all going.
I don't blame you for perhaps sleeping on these decisions overnight. And as Hybe pointed out, you got a nice little ETH balance there. You might see a little bit of a late night bargain, put somebody new into your team, and that triggers again a number of different changes.
I think. Do you know what I'm going to check real quickly? Is I want to check the minutes Joe David got tonight. Celtic won 3-2. Thank God we won something. I think that's our first win in 13 games or something stupid like that. Or what was it before tonight? 1-2 and 12. I think it is actually. So that'll be our first.
In a dead rubber match, yeah.
Yeah, dead rubber match exactly. Okay, so I'm looking at it now. It looks like he started up front with Yazici and he got 90 minutes. And the 5 subs they made was Wea off, Sumer off, Ikone off. So they arrested them. They needed to win tonight to get top of the group. What did they actually finish? I don't know the AC Milan score. I finished second in the group. Don't think they'll care that much, but hey ho. So I think Yazici will probably play. So I don't know. Joe David is a bit sketchy, isn't he? I'm quite light on strikers. That's my problem, especially with Hilario. I think he's coming back from injury, but as a gamble to think he's going to do anything decent. And then I've got the common Ronaldo conundrum, and I've got my Fabio Silva, which I think he'll play this game week. I hope he will anyway. So I might put him in somewhere. I'm just going to stick with the Joe David, and I might come back to it. As you say, I can sleep on it, and if I think I can maybe get something better, then I'll come back to that.
So all that's input from me today, and you're still no clearer to what team you're going to play. So that's the sort of help that I can bring to people.
No, but it's just you've helped offer me some good perspective, because I think if I did put the Wirtz in to that team, then because Wirtz being fully rested, not playing this Thursday, he's a very valuable asset to me because he's in good form in general.
I think that's the only challenge you got with this format, is that the guys like myself that are coming on and perhaps just chiming in your ear are maybe looking at things from a different perspective, and I'm going to want to pull on players that I think you should be putting in Euro champs. And whoever's talking to you about All-Star is going to want to probably pull on the same players. And then you've got your under 23, and they're going to want to use it. And you've only got one Wirtz, so you can't put Wirtz across 3 different teams anyway. So yeah, I think the suggestions that we've got, in combination with what you've already thought through in your mind, because you know your collection better than anybody else. You're going to have to make a choice. I think it's more down to prioritising which tournaments and which divisions do you want to win most. And for me, that was why, if anything, I would say go for the Euro champions 3 and 4 personally as the ones to win. And anything after that, I'd then go under 23, and after under 23, I would even leave All-Star to the last one, because the All-Star, you can put anyone in. You can chuck a Japanese guy in there. You can chuck one of the Seattle or Columbus guys in there.
Yep.
But with your Champions Europe, you've got to nail it. You've got to have 5 people there, and if you do, then you get rewarded for it, because you're going to get a reward. You're not going to wake up with a K-League guy that's played 3 times out of the last 5 games.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So
right, having joked whilst you and Hybe had a half an hour conflab, I think I would probably be best to bid you adieu and allow the other people to join prior to turning midnight and us all having to fall asleep.
Oh, nice one. No, listen, Mark, thanks a lot for joining us again, mate. It's a pleasure.
No, really, it's really great to come on. I hope the guys, anyone that's listening or joining, is enjoying the content. And as I said to you this week, I said I'm happy to drop by and say hello, and I love doing the podcasts with Hybe, and it's great to come on to give a different perspective here as well. But anyone else that's listening and wants to step up, I know you don't care who you talk to.
Exactly. Just come talk about football.
So anyone that wants to come in, no matter what size collection, what background, how long you've been playing the game, yes, I really find it fascinating to listen in and see how other people approach the game and the strategies that they take. So I'll come back again, or I'm happy to listen to others. So thanks again.
No, absolute pleasure, mate. Thanks very much.
Cool. Good luck this game week, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers, man. Take care. And then that will leave us with Leeds or we, or as I'm calling him now, Law Dog, to join us to go through the global, and then we'll finish up with under 23s thereafter. So, Leeds, are you with us, pal?
Hi, Quinny. How are you, pal?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good. I'm glad you've got, when I talk to you, I've always imagined this thick Yorkshire accent, and I'm really glad you've got one. It makes me, it makes me happy.
Absolutely, mate. It's as Yorkshire as they come, mate.
Love it. It's like when you're a wee guy, or do you get kids or anything yourself, mate? No. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a daughter, but
brilliant. See when you take them to see Santa, and the guy looks like Santa. It's like that.
I wish she was that young. She's 21, mate. So
okay. So you've been there then.
She believes in Santa anymore,
No, fair enough, man. So you've been there then, I suppose. So,
Quinny, sorry, mate. Just to start off, I'm glad you've invited me on. It's a pleasure to be here, mate. The work you do, promoting this, not just SoRare, but obviously my interest is SoRare, but the work you do on it is staggering, mate.
Yeah, thanks very much.
All the rewards you get is well deserved.
No, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate that. And anyway, we can kind of support each other. I'm always on board for. So I know you've reached out to me a few times. You've obviously got the SoRare info website as well, which I'll take a link for it, and when this goes out as a video, we'll plug that down there as well. But no, man, listen, really kind words. Thanks a lot for saying as much. It really does mean a lot. But when I was looking to get guests on, you're one of the first people I thought of, because like myself, you're very passionate about the platform. You've jumped in with 2 feet, and I actually really admire like your strategy and approach, because as much as like I've managed to build up a decent collection. We've just had Mark on, and there's lots of famous faces around the community of guys that just shell money out, or have shelled money out in the past, or whatever, blah blah blah. But you've done, the approach you've taken is very admirable, because it's what everyone thinks they could do, but then sometimes they'll just use a bit more money to buy them out of a bad situation or whatever. But you've really like scoured the long grass and really got in amongst the weeds, and you pull out really good players for very little amounts. So the global is a great division for you to come on and talk with me about.
100%, mate. Because of the budget constraints that I've got, I would love to able to buy the finished article and compete on a level playing field. However, I can't afford to do that at this moment in time. So thanks to videos like you've done, and a big shout out to McBride Ace, who helped me start off on SoRare. Because without your videos and him, I would have never started, because I looked at it and I thought I couldn't get my head around it. And McBride Ace, he spent hours with me, to be fair to him. So a big shout out to him. He's a good guy, to be fair. And like I said, without him, I don't think I would have done it. But with my budget constraints, I've had to look at it in a different way. And I noticed you produced a video about looking at guys who've possibly been out for a while, but have posted using SoRare data, the score graph.
Yep.
Of people or players who've posted good scores in the past and have gone out, and that's my strategy at this moment in time. But it's difficult. It requires patience. But at the moment, I'm doing fairly well, to be honest. I'm overachieving, I think. I target the global because of the gallery I've got. It's only the realistic chance I've got of competing. So, I've just got to play the game in a different way. But that's the beauty for SoRare with me. There's so many different ways to play it and to benefit from it financially.
Well, the approach you've taken is one that I think would appeal to a lot of people, because and again, you know, not really to mention it or whatever, but other things that, you know, we've been involved in or are involved in, everyone does always want to see the big accounts. What have they got? Oh, and, you know, we all love to kind of, I don't know if you'd call it window shop, but you look at big portfolios or you look at big galleries, big collections, you know, whatever it is we're on and talking about, and you think, oh, if I had that, I would do this, I would win that, I would sell him, I'd buy him, you know, and you live in that kind of little, oh, what if? But the way, you know, the approach you've taken, you know, just down to, you know, budgetary constraints is the real, you know, it's the equivalent to starting a Football Manager game, going a Division 4 team and putting it on like you've got no budget and you need to deal with free agents and loan transfers and climbing up the table. You know, it's not the glitz and the glamour way to go about it, but you get a different satisfaction from it, if that makes sense. You know, I don't know if you've been a Football Manager man in the past or whatever.
The satisfaction I get when I win a, you know, for example, the last game week, okay, the reward wasn't great. It was some 33-year-old guy who plays in Belgium. However, the satisfaction that's given me to compete with people with far bigger budgets, and I see a lot of talk on Twitter about you need so much to invest on SoRare to have a chance, and it's strictly not true. The global team we're going to talk about, it's cost me just over 50 quid.
Lovely.
And I've won 10 rewards with it.
Wow.
So it's a complete myth that you need hundreds, thousands of pounds to compete. And for me, it's the only platform out there with a restricted budget like myself, you can compete.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt, mate, because not blowing my own trumpet or anything like that, I've done it time and time again.
Yeah. Well, if you've won 10 awards with the same team, mate, I find that incredible, because to win with 10 teams, you know, that's 10 game weeks where those players have all played well, you know, they've not DNP'd on you or been rotated out or COVID hit or anything like that. So that's an extra kind of feather in the cap.
Mate. Sorry to interrupt, but because the team I use for my global is basically the same side. I joined via your link, and my free card was Sebastian Szyminski, which was a tremendous card, obviously. Yeah.
Lovely.
So I then decided my best chance was to build, because Dynamo Moscow are a fairly decent side domestically.
Yep.
To build a side, you know, to get as many players as I possibly could as cheap as possible. So I decided, I ended up with another 2 Dynamo Moscow players, Ivan Audette, who I paid 9 quid for, who scores consistently well most weeks.
The Ukrainian John Terry, I'm told.
Absolutely. But he's gone through, his form of late is sensational. The scores he's posting, and I think I paid 11 quid for him.
Yep.
Audette, I paid 9 quid, so there's your 20 quid. I don't have a goalkeeper. I have a common goalkeeper. I can't afford to buy a goalkeeper. So if you or one of your viewers want to send me one,
donations will be accepted gratefully.
Absolutely. But I've got Anthony Lopez, the Leon keeper, is the common.
Nice.
And in terms of scoring, I believe that his scores would be as good if I would have bought an average goalkeeper, because they've kept a lot of clean sheets. He saved the penalty on the weekend. So he's hitting me 40 odd points consistently anyway.
Wow.
So I would love to have it. If I had him, I'd be obviously winning better rewards if I had a rare card of his.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't afford it, but it's still possible. And this is what the whole point of designing the website was to prove to people that it can cater for all budgets.
Definitely.
So that was the purpose of it, and to give people who are umming and ahhing, should I join? I haven't got enough money and stuff like that, was just to give them an example of what I've done. So that's how it came about, basically, because I was hearing a few negative things on Twitter about the cost of it, and I was thinking, well, that's not true.
Yeah. Well, I have that kind of mindset with some things. I joined.
Something as well, Twitter.
Say again.
Sorry, I just want to make you aware as well. When you're on about DNPs, I'm not sure whether you're aware of this, but I know we all use FootMob, SoFaScore, etc.
Yep.
But WhoScored.com, 3 days prior to the game kicking off, they preview the game.
Yeah, they do expected
on
lineup.
the website, so it'll give you a list of all the suspensions and potential injuries and things. So just a bit of advice there. Just when you're putting your teams together, check WhoScored.com, because it's quite accurate, and it's announced a lot earlier than other sites like FootMob and SoFaScore, etc.
Who scored? Is that you're saying? Yeah.
WhoScored.com.
Yep. I'm never on the website for Who Scored. I've got the app on my phone. I'm in that quite a lot. But the website, I need to check that out then. If they've got a good lineup predictor, that could be very handy.
It's very good, Quinny, and it's a lot. They, like, for example, this weekend's games were on there yesterday, previewing them.
Cool.
And it's listed all the suspensions. Obviously, injuries is hit and miss. But I've used it since being on SoRare, and it's quite accurate, to be fair. So just
nice.
Anyone listening and yourself.
Who scored?
Because you don't want, obviously, DNPs.
No, of course, they're absolutely critical. So see with me with the global, are you going to be going with the same lineup again, your 50 quid lineup, or are you going to be mixing it up a bit this week?
The problem I've got, Quinny, because of the Dynamo Moscow connection, they're away to Zenit this weekend, which is very, very obviously
undesirable.
The toughest game of the season for them.
Yep.
I've got other players I could use, but they're not on those. They're not on their level, quality-wise, in terms of scoring. There's like Gavea in result in Belgium.
Yep.
But I'm quite attached to them now, and obviously the winter break's coming up in Russia, so they've only got 2 games left.
Might as well use them.
This weekend, and then Wednesday is their last game, and then they sod off for like 3 months. I think it restarts in February. So I'm undecided, but I think I am just going to stick with that team because it served me so well for so long. Even though it's a tough game, even when they don't win games, those players that I hold, they all score consistently well. Like Szymanski, for argument's sake, he posted nearly 80 on the weekend with no goal or assist.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He scored, I think it was 78, no goal or assist. Fomin hit about 80, but he scored their goal. But Szymanski, for my free card, I don't think I could have asked for a better free card, to be honest. He's young, very creative sort of midfielder, and I think he's going to be a very, very good player. Well, he already is, but I think he's going to become an even better player.
Yeah, it's kind of like similar to what Mark, You'll Never Walk Alone, was kind of saying earlier. Sometimes, or one of the things that SoRare offers you is to actually make use of a player when they're maximising playing at their level. You know.
Yeah.
So Szymanski, like, you know, he's also in great form since I've been aware of him, and you know yourself, obviously. But
yeah,
that guy, if he plays in, you know, you don't get excited about Szymanski because you're thinking, oh, he's going to sign for PSG or Real Madrid tomorrow. But you just want him to stay in that team and just keep doing well in the team to get better. You know, you're not praying for that, you know, tabloid transfer to Man United or whatever. You know, you just want 100%. The guy to do as well at his level, maximise it.
100%, mate. It's I couldn't agree more. You know, because they're very good at this moment, because they're obviously playing. They're one of the better players in a strongish team domestically in Russia.
Yep.
However, but if he went to somewhere like PSG, Man United,
that would be fine.
And then, you know, he's worthless then, basically. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
However,
well, I don't fancy he's worthless at PSG. I think if you went to somebody like PSG, I think you'd be rubbing your hands. But you then get different hurdles. You know, when does he play? How often does he play? You know, that's a different scenario.
Yeah, because the way I'm playing it, Quinny, to be perfectly honest, any win I get, I'm delighted with because of the net spend I've actually made on the platform.
Yep.
I've tweeted it a lot. I think I've invested 270 quid in total.
I seen your tweet.
Using SoRare data, the gallery and whatever, and what it's supposedly worth now based on the average monthly price and things. I've 4 or 5 times my money. Any little ETH wins, I just reinvested in cheaper players. So I'm happy the way it's going, to be honest. And, I'm delighted even to win. It doesn't sound a lot to a lot of users, but even if I can just win 0.1F or 0.2F every game week, I'm happy because I know that funds another player that I can look out for, because I spend so much time researching and everything now. I'm addicted to it. It's just it's a fascinating platform.
Yeah,
and it's tremendous. I love it. I can't rate it highly enough, to be honest.
Well, the approach you're taking at the moment, you kind of win twice, if you like. So you've obviously got your team that can go out and win, 10 rewards thus far, and will probably go on and capture another 10 as time goes on quite easily. But because of the effort you have to put in, like, how much did you pay for the foaming? Like 12 quid or something?
I paid just over a tenner for foaming.
And then 9 quid for their debts. Nowadays, or at the moment, they don't go for that in the market, do they? They go for much, much more, of course,
Absolutely. Or debt was 9 quid, foaming maybe 11 quid, that's 20 quid. Szymanski was my free card. And then the striker I bought, my biggest outlay since joining SoRare, was Maxwell Cornet for Leon.
Yeah.
The issue with him is he's playing left back.
Left kind of wing back, or is he left back?
He's left back now because they're playing 4-4-2, and since they had the horrendous start, he's made some changes. He's playing more like a 4-4-2. So he's literally playing left back. He scores decent, but one of the games he assisted twice, so he did score really well. But
Lovely.
The likelihood is now he's not going to be involved in goals, either scoring or assisting. So even though he's posting consistent for late 40s, 50s, it's not what I'm looking for. It's for my striker, So I've bought a few cheapies in the hope that they come good in time. And that's how I've got to play it, because I can't go out and spend 80, 90 quid on a finished article who's going to bang in 20 goals a season,
Yeah. That's what I'm kind of meaning as well, in terms that you win twice, because you've went to that extra effort. As you say, the rewards, when you bag them and you pull them, you also get a great buzz off that because of the time and effort you put into it. But equally then, because of how greatly the assets have appreciated, because you've done all that legwork to get them before the form kicks in, you catch them cheap, then you're kind of getting that double boost win. So, for example, if you look at the little team I've put together so far, right, on the screen, I don't know if you can see it, right, but I've got Dorsch here, right? Now I paid half a coin for Dorsch. So whenever he does well, I'm like, yeah, Dorsch, yeah, scored it, but I don't have any real kind of pride in owning Dorsch because I bought him when I knew he was a hot player, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But there was some people that bought Dorsch for like a fiver. There was some people pre-season that was picking him up for pennies. And I can imagine, had I picked up Dorsch or had I picked up Foeman for 11 quid, I've got 1 or 2 players like that. Like SoRare, I think I paid like 12 quid for or something. You do get that extra buzz because you've found them and you've got that kind of little proof, like, look, I only paid like 12 quid for him, and it's an extra buzz,
100%, and that's SoRare, or Carla Solar, however you want to pronounce it. I couldn't believe the price that I got him for, because I think I paid 9 quid for him.
There you go.
Before the season started.
In the off season, he was cheap as shit. I couldn't sell him for a lot of money. I tried to sell him.
I think he's one of Valencia's best players. Like you were talking about him earlier, he's playing more in the middle. He's playing in the centre of midfield now, not wide. He's obviously started the season very well for Valencia, scoring a hat-trick against Real Madrid, albeit penalties. But this is, again, where I've had to adapt. Because of his price, I sold him for like 54 quid.
Okay.
I didn't particularly want to sell him, but I eyed up 5, 6, 7 players that I wanted, and it was the way I could fund it. And my hope is those 6 or 7 players will return more long term than he can.
Well, even if they all turn into half of a SoRare each, then
absolutely,
then buzzing back of the net. That's what I think. See, when I see Gorka, if you look at Gorka on SoRare, like the amount of transactions he does is incredible. I see him on a lot of auctions, and he'll pick up guys for £2, £3, £4, that nobody wants to bid on, and he'll just suck them up and then put them back out for pretty cheap as well. But he's got a margin on everything. So if you're willing to put that effort in the bottom end of the market, where you've got more customers available to you, if you want to think of it in that marketplace setting, then you can get a lot of win-win deals, which I know a lot of people are, everyone loves a win-win deal. You sell something for a good profit, somebody gets a bargain, that's what we're all about. If that's possible, that's the deal everyone wants to make. And when you're operating at that end of the market, it's quite easy for you to sell something at a win-win situation, because your profit margin, potentially you've got a lot to play in, so the SoRare for 55, I dare say if you held out, you could have maybe got 58 or 60 or something, but by doing the deal where you do it, somebody gets a player at good price, you get a good profit, and everyone's a winner, as they say.
Well, the way I've looked at it, Quinny, is also the players I've bought with that money, with the profit that I made on him, without a goalkeeper, obviously, because I own a lot of goalkeepers for training, but they're cheap. They're non-starting goalkeepers, basically.
Got you.
But the money I made from Carlos Soler, for example, it bought me 4, 5, 6 outfield players in the MLS who I believe will make me very competitive next season.
Oh, man, I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing for MLS to come back.
Absolutely. It's and I've got no doubt, and without sounding big-headed, I genuinely believe those 4 outfield players will compete based on scores of their past and whatever, and they're obviously a lot cheaper now because it's out of season.
Yeah,
I think, especially people with smaller budgets like myself, and if they're starting up now, that's what I would recommend people doing. It's whether they've got the patience to wait 3 months before the season restarts and things, but I'm convinced you can get a very competitive side for well under £100 in MLS Korea, and obviously the Japanese and the Chinese league will be finishing shortly. But that's the way I'm looking at it,
I totally agree. And see what you're saying there as well. Like, see, because they are out of season, they're not the flavour of the month or whatever. They are easier to get cheaper, but technically speaking, they still have their in-season bonus. So when you are putting them into training, they'll rank up a little bit quicker in this off-season. So I definitely recommend anyone out there who's teetering on, or should I pick up this MLS midfielder, or found this little defender, I would pick them up and just put them in training, because you're going to get a good bonus. The MLS season, I think, is scheduled to return March.
Yeah.
So you can get the thick end of, let's just call it a solid 3 months worth of training out of a player. And, so then when you lose that season bonus, you might have actually caught it back already if you do the training now, rather than waiting for the new season to get issued, and then you're back in the Shark Tank with everyone else trying to fight out for the new cards. So
absolutely.
So it definitely pays, mate, the take you're doing, and I know a few other people that have done the same thing.
Absolutely, because I know you're a big fan, because I've spoken to you on him, but people like Walker Zimmerman going for like 20 quid.
Yeah.
Now, in his last auction, and it's not a pun because I don't own him. I'd like to, but 20 quid is ridiculous, because in 3 months' time, if he scores anywhere near what he's done in this season, he's going to be worth a lot more than that,
Definitely.
So there's so much value out there, and I think there'll always be a season over somewhere, and players' prices will drop, and I think you've got to take advantage of that particular league that's out of season, because there's bargains to be picked up everywhere.
Yeah,
for me.
I totally make you right. Like when I first came on the platform, and I don't know how far behind me you were, but none of the European leagues were really playing at that time. So when I first came on, I was picking up like SoRare quite cheap, and the guys that I kind of started my gallery with, because it was all K-League. I think there might have been something else. The J-League and MLS came on quite quickly after me joining SoRare. and also those leagues have just ended because they were really in the middle of it at that time. So I managed to get some. I'm trying to scroll through my gallery without it taking all these pages now, isn't it, again? But guys like Gabriel, Magalhaes, Ferran Torres, Carlos Soler, even Depay. I'm still quite happy with how cheap I got him at the time, off season. 16 quid I paid for the Soler. But as you say, it's always the world. The world is going around the earth. There's different seasons. There's uncontrollable. The La Liga and the Premier League and Liga, and they will finish at some point, and the J League and MLS will come back at some point, and then that cycle will go on forever. And if you've got the patience and the discipline to buy off season, like you're describing and like we've kind of spoke about, then it's definitely a safe way to start on the platform, because you're buying them underpriced because you can't use them. And then when they do come back into play, you're hopefully got stronger cards and you realistically should have been able to acquire in the first place, that you can then compete at a decent level with. So it's definitely a great strategy, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's the only way I can afford to play and maximise my money on the platform, and that's how I've looked at it. It's for smaller budgets like myself, that you can't play it obviously on how you would want to play it, because if I had the money, I'd be going out and buying all the top stars and competing for tier ones. It's impossible at my budget, but it's not impossible to claim rewards. Obviously not the top end, but I'm happy because it's funding. I own like 120 cards now.
Oh yeah.
Total. And for 270 quid outlay, I'm very happy. Obviously that's taking into account trades and ETH that I've won, or F, in the past, but all I need is 3 or 4 of them to turn into the next Vanaken, or
100%. And again, like we were saying earlier on, all we're waiting for is the players at their level to excel. You don't necessarily need them to go to Real Madrid, PSG, or whatever, but you just want them to be that Vanaken, the guy that bosses the Jupiter League for one of the better teams in that league, and you're rolling in it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. It's just such an exciting time for me on this platform, because I can see what's achievable even with a limited budget, and I couldn't do it anywhere else.
I think sorry, man, you go.
Sorry, mate, you go on.
No, what I was going to say is I think as well as time progresses and we get more clubs on board, because MLS, for example, come on as a batch, right? Because it's not the clubs that are licensed, it's like the players like union that's licensed. So when we get all those cards come back into season, they're all going to get 100x each on the rares and blah blah blah. And then the more leagues and the more clubs that come on, the more choice and the more variety is around, you'll find the demand will kind of siphon out. Whereas now, like me and Mark were kind of chatting about it earlier, if PSG, Juve, Bayern, the bigger teams, when you're going to the Champion Europe, you kind of know you're playing against a small kind of pool of likely opponents. Yeah. But as that kind of changes over time, then there's a lot more opportunity for these buys that we're talking about, where you find that next Vanaken when he's 22 and he's maybe not really in favour, but you've maybe spotted something in him that you fancy. He turns 23, 24, becomes captain of the team, whatever happens. You'll get a lot more choices for that, just because there's more places for people to look. I mean, there's more places. Like Fenerbahce, for example, did you look into them today before they went live?
I did, actually, because I bought one.
Oh, did you? Who did you get?
I bought one player today. I noticed him because I'd researched only not in great detail, but I researched the squad and I'd seen a couple of them. And then I had a quick look on SoRare data, and I'd won some F from last game week and stuff. So that's how I funded it, basically. But Mauricio Lemos, he's a centre half, he's a Uruguayan.
Yep.
And again, it's not a pun. The only reason I bought him, because he's out injured at the moment, is when Koeman was at Everton. I believe he was linked to Everton at one stage.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
I love things like that.
He obviously didn't go there. He's ended up at Fenerbahce. He's got injured, but the reason it attracted me, they SoRare data. if anyone's not on it, they need to be on it. But
they're brilliant, aren't they?
Oh, it's a fantastic, and it's free. It's can't recommend it high enough, to be honest. But the score graph is invaluable, and I bought him purely based on the scores he has previously scored with Fenerbahce before going off injured. But you know, it's only a small sample because he obviously have only just joined in the summer. But he looks half decent, and because of like the Everton links and things like that, I just thought, well, for £7, I couldn't, you know. It's not hardly a risk, is it? It's a risk worth taking for £7.
So if he was linked to Everton under Koeman, I'm just looking at that guy's career history. He was probably playing in Spain at that point in La Liga. So
Las Palmas, I think.
Yeah, so that would have been, let's say, 2 to 3 years ago. How old is he now? 24. So being that 21-year-old centre back at, you know, the bottom end of the table, but on the Liga side, that's definitely kudos. And it looks like he had 5 goals in 23 games. That sounds like form that would get you scouted.
Yes.
A goal and 4 for a centre back. So he's obviously a set piece threat. That's what that would tell me. Or he's maybe a free kick. He's one of those guys with a big toe. He could just smash it. You know, he's maybe one of those guys. But if he can get anywhere, see if he can play 35 games and get 5 goals, buzzing. You know, so that could be a really good one, mate. Well done to you for picking him up. I did see him earlier. I looked at the Fenerbahce team and I didn't spend much time going over it, to be honest with you, because I thought we were going to get Liverpool or something like that today. I think the Twitter sphere got me mega hyped when we were getting a big signing. But the only player I think is the reason I asked you is because I think it's pretty obvious. But when I kind of looked through it, I thought there was only one player in here that I would say is a standout. I would almost certainly want, and it's Ozan Tufan. He's the obvious guy if you look at them. You know, he is centre mid, 4 goals in 11 games or whatever it is. Lemos was a wonder kid back in the day, says Ross.
Yeah, he could be. I did look at him, but obviously budget-wise, it's just out of my league, you know. But
I didn't even follow the auctions today, but yeah, you could tell everyone was going to chase him.
Yeah, he looks quality. To be fair, he looks a very, very good player. So I can understand why you would have spotted him straight off.
Yeah, I don't think there's much in their team to get too excited about, but I do like your Lemos. I'm just looking back at my results now. I think game week 1, 2, 3 or whatever it is pretty much finished now. All the Europa League games are long done, and it looks like I've bagged another tier 1 rare, which is lovely. And
well done, mate.
Thank you very much. Class. That's in under 23s. That was the one. I don't know if you've seen any of my Twitter action, but we were first last night or second or something. We had to hang on. We hung on. We finished 9th, which is okay. Cengiz Under scored 74 points on tonight and brought it from the ashes and managed to grab me a wee cheeky D3. So, and Cengiz Under, by the way, I got him really cheap and he still goes quite cheap, which I find surprising. It's not too surprising because he's not number 1 at Leicester. He's just playing Europa League really in the odd kind of game off the bench in the EPL. But we cards like that, you know, it's one of these things as well. You'll get this you'll have the benefit of this a lot, but see when you are selecting cards that less people pick, when they do well, it gives you such a good chance to leapfrog other people that have maybe went for the more popular choice or something like that, or the safer card. So I always like cards like that when they pay off. But part of the problem I've had, and I don't know if you're the same or if you've caught the streams or whatever, but a lot of my players can be a bastard with rotation, you know, so sometimes predicting that is really the challenge. But no, I'm quite... Oh, Mark Rocca has won me something. He's only been here a week. That's lovely. So Mark Rocca was involved in that, which is lovely. And
the DNPs, Quinny, COVID has played such a... Because obviously the season's condensed now.
Yep.
And they're playing far more... DNPs, it's a nightmare. It's a lottery, isn't it? Sometimes,
yeah, it is.
You know, and it's but I think, you know, providing the season goes back to normal next season, the rotation, I don't think it'll be as bad now as it is now. You know, it's virtually impossible predicting full, you know, your 5 players you'll do as much research as possible, but there's obviously no guarantees. And
No.
I've had one tonight, and he's played for Ghent. And I thought he was certain to start. He didn't start. He's come on and scored, so I'm happy with that anyway. Centre half, he's another one for you. Nurio Fortuna, if you want to have a look at him.
Fortune.
Fortune. He's a centre half again. He's I picked him up for about 6-7 quid, but he's another. His scores are decent as well. I'm pumping players now. I didn't want to do that, but it's just I was delighted because he scored tonight and he's won me 1F. I didn't think I was going to win anything.
Oh, lovely. The scores are
So
tiny, by the way.
I sneaked in because he didn't start the game, but he come on and they got Steph 4-1, but he scored in like the last couple of minutes. So
Sneaky.
It runs another good player for me. That's all.
Is this guy a fullback? Do you know?
He's a centre half.
Oh, really? The scores are nice, man. I'm looking at them now. He's got 100.
He's a decent for what I paid for him. I might be lying. I might have paid more for it. I think I might have paid £11 for him or something like that. But other than tonight, he starts most games, and he does post decent scores. But I got a load of them like that, Quinny, to be fair. But because I've got no choice, because I've had to look for, like I said before,
got to scratch around for them.
Players like that, it's my budget.
I'm in a pretty good place now, and I've kind of put more money towards it. But see, my first month, 6 weeks, I was very much in the same kind of mode. I didn't want to put too much in. It was, when you're new to anything, you're, risk adverse. You want to take your time. You want to make sure you don't fuck things up. You don't want to lose money. No one does. And I remember getting really excited. I think it was the first Saturday I was on this, but I won an auction for a guy. Right, you've maybe heard of him. He's not very good anymore. His name's Matt Daly. He played for Cardiff under SoRare. Used to be okay on computer games and stuff like that, and he's never really taken off. But he's at I'm not spelling his name right or something. But he's at one of the Belgian teams, and it was Jesus, I can't even find him. Let's put Matt's D. Oh, there he's there. And very I'm pulling his scores up because I don't remember how long ago. But yeah, so game week 47 and game week 48. Jesus, I feel old thinking about when game week got 130 now or something. But 4 game weeks there, 90, 88, 48, and 78. I got that guy for a £5 or something. It was a Saturday morning auction. And it was still really good weather because I can still remember it. I was sitting outside, I was having a cigarette, and I was like, I remember that guy. And I was like, I hope nobody else buys him. I hope nobody else comes in this auction. And I got him pure super cheap, and I was like, yes. I was absolutely buzzing. Then he played these 4 games. I'm like, this guy, I need to get a super rare of him. I do. And then I don't know if you can see the screen, but he only played 3 more times and he can't get back in the fucking team anymore. he's super cheap and he's probably crap, but he did me okay for 4 weeks. He probably won me a tier 3 or something at some point. But when you get those, I kind of said it earlier on when you first came on, but when you get those ones that you kind of have a familiarity with, or you get them mega cheap and they pay off for you, it's some buzz. It really is.
It is, mate. It is. It's like I said, it's the biggest buzz. I've been on all the platforms, but regardless of budget, it's for me, it's the one I can see the potential in the platform. The potential of it could be huge.
Yeah, I'm the same. Because it just ticks us so many boxes, eh? But listen, we're on. I'll 100% need to get you back on. We're on the verge of me going into Tangent Land and keeping you and everyone here until tomorrow. So thanks a lot for joining us, buddy. I've rattled through. If you want to take, we'll just close off, okay? The D4. I'll run back through the teams, right, and we'll just do this together, mate. You can just tell me, any thoughts to opinions, whatever. So with my under 23s, I'm going D4. I'm going Lafont, Gabriel. So it's North London Derby was last weekend, but Lafont's at home, so let's hope he can do okay. Gabriel's at home against Burnley, hoping that'll be favourable for him. Lots of crosses to head away and clearances to make and whatever from the way they play football. Tanaka, good form should continue. Kamada and Larson, good form should continue. Quite happy with that as an under 23 lineup. And similar to what you're talking about as well with the globals, and I look at my global here, And I was having this kind of chat with Ross as well privately, but I like sometimes putting in things in the global that maybe something like a Mark, and I was talking to Mark and Hybe, they were like, I wouldn't put like Mbappe in my global D4, I would put D3 as my last priority, that kind of thing. But I think if a lot of people think like that and you went quite heavy in those leagues, or, somebody like yourself, you're scratching around, you're pulling out some of these cheeky bargains, you might actually come off quite well because you'll probably find a lot of the stronger cards don't get played in there. But with my D4, I've went Akinfeev in goals. I've went with the 2 Columbus Crew guys for the MLS final. I'm back in the Crew. I probably think Sounders will win it in reality, but SoRare wise, I'm backing my boys to score way well at least. Sakamoto was a wee reward, and then Diatta played the other night. I'm hoping he plays again the weekend, so that could be okay.
That sounds good to me, mate. It's a strong lineup, pal.
This one's a bit gambly. I'm gambling on Atleti doing what I think they'll do and not get battered by Real. Gambling on Cuisance and Dorsch playing, and I'm gambling on Depay having a good game against PSG. So if that team falls, I'm not going to be too disappointed because there's a lot of question marks across it. And equally, if they all at least start, there's the potential it could run quite well. Challenger Europe that we've done with Hybe, we've went, oh crap, I don't have a defender. I probably need to go buy one somewhere. Oh, who was the guy you just told me about? What was his name again? Fortuna.
Sorry,
Fortuna.
Fortuna.
I might just go buy him now. I need a defender.
Fortuna, I think.
Yeah.
You can buy mine off me, 500 quid.
Bargain, mate.
It's a bargain, mate, honestly.
Never going to get an deal like this again, am I? Gorka's selling one, surprise.
Surprise, sorry.
Oh, I want one that's in season, I think, for the different Beltraz. There's one that's on auction. Can I wait for the auction? I don't think I can. And Peachy. I'm probably going to buy this one off of Beltraz. You're not selling yours, are you? No.
I couldn't. I need him.
No, I wasn't sure if you were joking or not, and I didn't want to buy one of somebody else.
Well, for 500 quid, yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to buy him. Screw it. 0.43. Actually, let me just check because let me just check his average. What screen am I sharing? I'm still sharing SoRare data. Sorry, I'll get back into.
His average is about 0.53.
Oh, really? Is it?
Yeah, on SoRare data. That is a 0.51. Sorry, Quinny.
Oh yeah, that's quite good.
There's one on the market for 0.39. Is there? So it says.
I think it's out of season. If it is, I might still buy it if it's that cheap. Where's the 0.39? I think it might have been Gawka's actually. It is. It's Gawka's. Yeah. And it's out of season. So so I'd pay the little bit, so around 0.39, I'd pay 0.43, which is what the difference of £18.30 and 6. So I'd pay £1.50 for him to be in season, and I would do that. Yeah, fuck it, let's buy him.
He's posted some decent scores, Quinny, in his time there. Looking at SoRare data, because that's obviously, I always check that out before buying anyone because they've got to have had a potential to have scored well in the past. But he's another one, he's decent for his price, for my price range,
Yeah, he's going to go in. He's going to go into that challenger lineup. I just don't think he's hit my gallery yet. He's registered, so I've got 143 cards now, but he's not transferred over. So when that happens, I'll put him in my challenger. Thank you very much for coming on the stream to help me out with the defender. That's lovely. And Champion Europe, we've went for Navas, home to Leon, Manolas, SoRare, McKennie, David. Solidish team. Not got amazingly high hopes. It's not a gamble. It's it's not a lot of chances and whatever. It's pretty solid. And in the D3, we're basically going with a Leverkusen Inter split. And I'm quite excited to see how that gets on because I'm quite happy with the fixtures they've got and the way that looks to pan out. The only worry I have with that is being a D3 with one super rare. I really am hoping that other people do kind of fall on their face a little bit. And then the Champion Asia, I think we've went mega strong in terms of Mickey Yamin and Asaka. And I like the other guys as well. Bit of a gamble on the goalkeeper because he has DNP'd 2 games in a row. One of those games was at the team he's on loan from. So it might have been a wee bit of preparation for the game. They weren't going to have him the time they dropped him. Might have been that. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, some good lineups. I'm really happy with that. Yeah.
I'm sure you'll smash it, mate, and good luck, pal.
Thanks very much.
And any free cards you win, you don't want, send them my way. Leads our win.
Magic. Listen, thanks again for joining us, mate. It's much appreciated. We'll have you back on. It's just been good fun, and it's just a wee bit late to carry on now. But thanks very much, mate.
Yeah. Thanks, Winnie. Cheers, pal.
All the best, mate. Take care.
Cheers. Ta-da.
Lovely jubbly, guys. So, lovely stream tonight. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I'll try and cut this down into a nice little video if you're watching this after the fact. Thanks a lot for watching. Some great guests. Really happy with the lineups we're putting out. Really happy with the rewards we've just captured from the night before. So if you've got me on Twitter, check out the fleets, because I'll now be able to do my rewards as a wee fleet thing. I think that's quite appropriate and quite cool. So we're on for a tier 1 rare from under 23s. And we're on for a tier 3 from a champion Europe. So it could be some quite good rewards. Like, subscribe, share, retweet, guys. All that good stuff. Stay out of trouble.